behind you, Larry, over here real quick. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Ended up on the wrong side. I didn't know we shut the door over there. Okay. Well, this is a repeat of what we did a year ago. Has it been about a year? November. We have some new people who might need some more information on open meeting law. So like I said before, this is an adaptation of a presentation that was given to the commissioners of the second district. I just made it my own, and I tried to adapt it a little bit to apply to the Board of Trustees for school districts. So my name is Matt Jessup. I'm the Idaho County Chief Civil Deputy Prosecutor. This is open meeting law presentation. Legal disclosure, I'm not the attorney for the school board. I really can't give the school board legal advice. I'm just giving a presentation tonight on I guess the county's understanding, the prosecutor's office's understanding of open meeting law. I represent Idaho County as a civil attorney. Offering this presentation as general guidance, you should rely on the advice of the school board's attorney for actual legal advice. That's the advice that protects you as school board trustees, not my advice. If you are interested in looking at the actual text of Idaho open meeting law, it's online on this Idaho legislature website. You can just Google Idaho open meeting statutes. It should take you to this website where you can look at all the Idaho open meeting laws. Also, the Attorney General's office, Raul Labrador's office, they publish, I believe every year, a Idaho open meeting law manual, which is a great handbook for anybody who's in a position where you have to have open meetings. It gives the Attorney General's interpretation of open meeting law. It also has all the statutes in it and some kind of case scenarios. The legislative intent of open meeting laws is that the work of the public should not be done in the dark. The work of the public should be done in public. The people of the state of Idaho, in creating the instruments of government that serve them, do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies so created. Therefore, the legislature finds and declares it's the policy of this state that the formation of public policy is public business and shall not be conducted in secret. This applies to governing bodies. What are governing bodies? Well, where there's two or more members with authority to make decisions, it's a governing body. Under Idaho Statute 74-202, subpart 5. The school district, the Board of Trustees itself is a governing body. Any committee, subcommittee, study group created by the school district is a governing body. And those that has two or more members should meet in public to discuss whatever issue they're assigned to. Well, two or more members with authority to make decisions. You could potentially have a study group, let's say you wanted, well, I guess if a study group comes together and make decisions, their decisions should be made in a public meeting. That shouldn't be done secretly. Anything that they make a decision on should be done in public. If you have one person, let's say you have Ty, give you some report on the buses for the district, he can do that, give a report. He doesn't have to have a public meeting on creating that report. But if you created a study group of people to create a report, they come together to create that report and what they decide what they're going to put in that report, that's two or more members coming together to make decisions to decide what's going in that report. They should do that in an open meeting.
An example of that would be policy committee, curriculum committee, the two sub-districts, the two individual sets of board members would be one of those.
Exactly. Thank you. Remember, all school district advisory boards, committees, and commissions are subject to Idaho's open meeting law, Public Records Act, Ethics and Government Act. All school district advisory boards, committees, and commissions need to be staffed by the school district and trained to comply with applicable laws. That includes making notice of the meeting, taking meeting minutes, publishing that notice, publishing those minutes. Meeting roles and responsibilities. Here, the chairman of the board presides. A quorum of board members is required to conduct business. Clerk of the board or clerk's designee prepares and publishes the agenda prior to the meeting. They take minutes and they disseminate information for the meeting and records the meeting if required. An actual audio recording or a video recording if required, particularly for hearings. And the school district staff may be required to attend and provide updates, reports, and answer questions. What is a public meeting? Public meeting is the convening of a governing body of a public agency to make a decision or deliberate towards a decision. Types of public meetings include regular meetings, special meetings, emergency meetings, and executive sessions. Locations of public meetings, they have to be in a public place where all members of the public are able to go. You can't hold public meetings in a place that excludes anybody from the public. I can't think of any place in Idaho County that would exclude anybody. But for example, a golf course that doesn't allow people over 6 feet tall, you can't have your public meeting there because you're discriminating against a member of the public that may want to attend. The meeting agenda, super important item for all governmental governing boards. Because if it doesn't hit the agenda, it doesn't happen. That's your history. That's the history of the board. If it doesn't hit the agenda, it doesn't happen. An agenda is a good faith effort to include all probable items to be discussed, decided at the meeting. Written for those not familiar with the school board governance, an agenda doesn't have complicated acronyms that members of the public may not understand. If you do have an acronym, that's fine to put it on the agenda, but make sure you spell it out. Make sure the public can understand what the board is going to be talking about. It might make sense to the board, it may not make sense to Jim Smith. And it's your promise to the public that what you put on the agenda is all you're going to talk about at the meeting. If you talk about more at the meeting, the person who read the agenda, they're not going to have notice that you're going to talk about that additional item. They might want to be there. They might want to hear about what you're going to talk about. It's your promise to the public you're not going to talk about anything else. An agenda is not a simple list of categories like old business, new business, adjourn. It's not just a list of presenters. It's not a request for actions hidden in reports. Types of public meetings. Talked about the regular meeting. Regular meeting is the convening of a governing board of a public agency on a date fixed by law or rule. Tonight, I'm sure you have a schedule of dates and times that you have meetings that's fixed every year, I imagine. And that's when you conduct the regular business of the agency at those fixed meetings. Oh, sorry. And the regular meeting checklist before the meeting. The regular meeting date is adopted by the ordinance and is published so people know when you're going to have your meetings. The agenda is posted at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Has to be a physical posting, and Idaho law requires if you have an online presence that you post it online as well. And then agenda amendments made prior to the meeting should also be posted physically and online if it's within that 48 hours or any time the agenda is amended. During the meeting, you have to have a quorum present, the necessary staff present, and agenda amendments made according to Idaho open meeting law. After the meeting, draft minutes available to the public, draft minutes reviewed by the Board of Trustees, minutes approved by the Board of Trustees, and finally the approved minutes made available to the public. You can also make the non-approved minutes available to the public if you so choose, but you should make sure the public knows they have not been approved by the board yet if you publish those. Special meeting is convening a governing body of a public agency pursuant to a special call for the conduct of business as specified in the call. Essentially, meetings not held as a regular meeting. Those only require I believe a 24-hour notice. The agenda has to be posted 24 hours prior to the meeting in those physical locations and online locations. Any agenda amendments need to be made prior to the meeting, and you notify the press. During the meeting, you have to have a quorum present, necessary staff, and agenda amendments made in the meeting after the meeting. Same thing with the minutes. The minutes need to be made available to the public and approved by the board once those minutes are completed. Emergency meetings. I don't know if have you convened emergency meetings? Is that something?
You can't, we
Can't.
haven't,
We
we don't
haven't.
typically, but you can have them.
The commissioners do, sometimes we had an emergency declared when the Buckhorn Bridge was closed. And so we had an emergency agenda item. But you can also do an emergency meeting. It's a meeting that's not held during your regular meetings. The notice is essentially, as soon as you know you're gonna have the emergency meeting, you give notice. It's a meeting to address imminent injury or damage to persons or property, or immediate financial loss. Notices and practical or increases severity of the situation. Must state the reason for the emergency at the outset of the meeting.
An example would be like, if we had a catastrophic fire in one of our buildings or something like that, we would have to have an emergency meeting. So it doesn't happen very, very rarely. I hope never happens, but it does. There is a possibility.
But as soon as you call that emergency meeting, you post the agenda and you post it wherever you can to give the public notice, but there's no minimum notice requirement. Any executive session is any meeting, a part of a meeting of a governing body that's closed to any persons for deliberations on certain matters. These executive sessions are very precious. They shouldn't happen very often, but there are specific reasons that happen. It's to protect privacy, it's to protect the board legally, but this should only be used pursuant to statute and as little as possible. You don't want to be doing the work of the public in an executive session unless the statute says you can. Hoping the next slide tells us when we can. Not quite yet. But executive sessions, notice must state the reason for the executive session. You have to have 48-hour notice if it's a regular meeting, 24-hour notice if it's a special meeting. Requires a 2/3 roll call to go into executive session. So if you don't have 2/3 roll call of the quorum present, or 2/3 voting in favor of going to the executive session, you can't go into the executive session. And the motion has to state the reason for the executive session, not specifically, but pursuant to code. So you go into executive session for personnel matters, you go into executive session to discuss legal matters. You have to say the specific code reason, but not necessarily to say we're going to an executive session to discuss the work performance of Jane Smith. That stays in the executive session. You just have to say personnel matters and then what code section. Stay on topic. This one's hard. When you go into executive session, you're talking about Jane Smith's work performance. You might want to talk about her husband Mike Smith's work performance. Hopefully there's nobody named Jane or Mike Smith.
There is.
But you can't. That wasn't the reason. That you went into the reason to discuss Jane Smith. If you want to discuss other matters, you want to discuss the upcoming volleyball game and how we're going to provide security for it, that was not part of the executive session topic, and it doesn't qualify. You need to talk about that stuff in public. You can't talk about it in the executive session. You can only talk about those things that are protected by the statute and that particular topic you're going into the executive session for. Any questions on executive sessions? Okay. Use them frugally. Oh, what did I press? Weird button. Who attends an executive session? All board members are allowed to attend. You don't have to have a full board. You just have to have the quorum and then 2/3 roll call vote to go into executive session. Anyone invited by the governing board can come. So if you need Ty to come in and talk about his employee, you can invite him and talk about the employee. But the public doesn't have a right to come to the executive session. Though not required, as a matter of practice, it's helpful to have legal counsel sit in with the board. Now, I don't know how often you utilize your legal counsel. I sit in with the commissioners for every meeting, so I'm almost at every executive session. If it's going to be something really sticky, especially a legal topic, you might want to at least have legal counsel on the phone. Permitted reasons for an executive session include personnel selection, evaluation, discipline, and termination, acquiring interest in land, considering records exempt from disclosure like personnel records, discuss litigation with your attorney, or consider claims or potential claims with the county risk manager. Oh, well, that's a county. With the school board risk manager or insurer. Essentially, any upcoming potential claims against the school district. Claims meaning financial claims, litigation. More on agenda and minutes. amending a meeting agenda. The agenda is your promise you won't discuss any other items than what's on the agenda. Only good faith agenda amendments are permitted. Sometimes you have to amend the agenda. For example, Ty forgot to bring in the bus tire contract. Sorry, I'm abusing you tonight. But he has to have bus tires next week, and you don't have another board meeting. He doesn't have to. He has to have the contract in tomorrow to get the price on those tires. You're going to lose out financially as a school district if you don't approve it tonight. And he didn't get it until 4 p.m. before the meeting. So that's a good faith reason. You know, it just got it. Has to be approved right away. You amend the agenda if you can post it online. If you can post it physically, great. And then the very first thing you do when you open the meeting is you amend that agenda. And so everyone's on notice that the agenda is being amended. Action items can only be added to an agenda if the item constitutes an emergency. I kind of jumped ahead. So Ty's emergency tire situation, that could be an emergency. We're going to lose out on a $5,000 discount on this tire purchase if we don't approve it tonight. And that's a financial loss. That's an immediate financial loss. You can declare it to be an emergency and actually take action on that agenda item, but you have to put in the minutes that it's essentially an emergency, that it needs to be acted on tonight. If it's not an emergency, you can still amend the agenda, but you can't take action on it until the next meeting. So if you want to discuss Ty's tire situation, great, but unless it's an emergency, you're going to suffer immediate financial loss. You can't take action on that added agenda item. Agenda amendments. Agenda must be amended, and it's 24 hours before a meeting. Simply repost the amended agenda. If the agenda must be amended less than 24 hours, but before the meeting starts, post the agenda as soon as possible in the meeting. Move to amend the agenda, include the good faith reason why it wasn't included in the original agenda. Meeting minutes. Written minutes shall be made and kept of all public meetings and be made available to the public within a reasonable time frame. Meeting minutes must include the names of the governing body members present, all motions, resolutions, ordinances, and the disposition, the results of all votes, and upon request of governing board member, the vote of each member by name. So you do not have to keep a word-by-word recount or transcript of your meeting. That's not required under the Idaho open meeting laws, but it's got to be explicit enough that you can tell what happened in the meeting and have these specific things in the meeting minutes. Practical suggestions for meeting minutes need to reflect what was decided at a meeting, not what you wish happened. And so when you're reviewing the meeting minutes of what happened at the last meeting, it needs to be what happened. You can't amend it to make it sound a little bit better, look a little bit better. It has to reflect what actually happened. Minutes should not be an expanded version of the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, it shouldn't be in the minutes. Minutes should not be editorialized. I guess that's kind of self-explanatory. Whoever's writing the minutes shouldn't really explain the school board brought this up because we think it's in the best interest of the students. It really should just be an accounting of what happened at the meeting. Minutes create the history of your school district. Make them clear for future board of trustees. It's your history documents. Minutes shouldn't be a transcript unless required, like for a hearing. Meeting minutes and executive sessions. Minutes of executive sessions must include reference to the specific statutory subsection and sufficient detail to identify the purpose and topic, but not enough to compromise the purpose of the executive session. So we don't put Jane Smith, we say we met to, under code section such and such, to discuss a personnel matter. Approving meeting minutes. Approval of board minutes should be on the agenda. It's okay to use consent agendas. Does the school board use consent agendas? And that's okay. Just know that if there's anything you want discussed in the consent agenda, you as a trustee can ask for that to be pulled out of the consent agenda, and you talk about that particular item that was on the consent agenda outside of the consent agenda. Draft minutes should be made available to the public as soon as possible. Board of Trustees should review minutes to ensure the minutes accurately reflect the Board of Trustee actions. Anything not in the minutes did not happen. Purpose of a public hearing. So it's required by law for specific purposes for public hearings. For the commissioners, we have public hearings on road vacations and validations and variances to our subdivision ordinances. In your case, you have public hearings on budget, deconsolidation. You have to make a very good record of that because really it could result in litigation. And any reviewing court needs to know exactly what was said. That's when you need the recording, either a audio and video recording or an audio recording where a transcript can be made from, a word by word recitation of what happened in that hearing. The public has the right to provide testimony during hearings, provided the testimony is within the time allowed, so you're allowed to set time limits for a hearing. It has to be on topic and within the hearing procedures established by the Board of Trustees. Special regular meeting rule for Board of Trustees. I reviewed this slide for a while. I put this on just for you guys. Board of Trustees shall provide opportunity for, members of the public residing in the school district to comment on school and education matters at regular meetings. We talked you this last time. And I think you implemented before our last meeting, but essentially people can come speak at your meetings and they have a right to speak at your meetings. You have a right to control, how long somebody talks, not necessarily about what topic they talk about. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you can talk about it during the meetings because it's not on your agenda. So if somebody brings up something that's not on the agenda, they have a right to comment on those items, but you can't necessarily discuss it because it's not on the agenda. But you can put that there is public comment, period, on the agenda. Yeah.
So if somebody came to a meeting, signed up for public comment, and they wanted to talk about potholes in the parking lot, that's one I use all the time. And they had their 3 minutes and they spoke very eloquently about potholes in the parking lot and what they thought the board should do about it. They can't enter into a conversation with the board at that time, correct?
Not
It's just
really.
One-way conversation.
The board can ask questions because that person's there and there's an opportunity to get information from that person, but they can't really discuss the item. They can't discuss the item because you need to put it on the agenda to be discussed by the board. And so it's a little bit of a gray area there because I think you can ask some questions of the person giving that comment, but really you shouldn't engage in a discussion about that topic unless it's on the agenda. Does that make sense?
So we can't answer questions, or how does that work?
Well,
We're getting in a lot of gray
Well,
area.
you're in a gray area.
Yeah,
For instance, you had me amend the agenda.
I did. Yeah.
On Sunday morning, I amended the agenda for Tyler.
Okay, which is fine because it's within the 48-hour amendment period prior to this
Anyway,
regular
it
meeting.
is the last agenda item. It says public discussion, 10 minutes.
Okay.
So,
Is
that
that the most
only,
appropriate time to answer questions? Can we just do it at the end of the meeting?
It really depends on the questions.
but it should only be on these agenda items, correct?
Question.
So the avenue for the public to talk about something is,
That's on the agenda.
that's not on the agenda.
That's
They
not
need to
on the agenda.
request it at a previous meeting, and then the following meeting, then we talk about it. That's our best way to do it.
So back to
You
my
don't have to. You can. You don't have to.
back to my potholes example, if they come and they talk about potholes, you shouldn't make a decision that night because it's not on the agenda. You really shouldn't even get
Well, I'm
into
not
the conver-
saying,
you shouldn't
but if you
even
could answer
really-
the question, like, it's gonna be filled, the potholes are gonna be filled next Friday, can you say that?
I guess you can. Yeah, I'd say, but you got to be careful,
We're
right?
just not making decisions.
But instead of saying
we
the
can-
potholes are going to be next Friday, you say, "Hey, group, should we fill the potholes next Friday?" That's entering into agenda. item.
Okay.
But you
But if
know,
an
Ty
answer, if
told
an answer
you-
is available, we
Yeah,
can answer that,
I'd say
right?
so. But
Okay.
you got to be careful too, because individual board members don't speak for the board. And so you got to
Well,
be
that's
careful
true, that's
answering
true.
questions.
That's
But that one would be great, especially if Ty's here. Maybe you could have Ty answer the question.
But-
Ty's like, "Yeah, I contacted with them to come fill the potholes on Tuesday."
And, but with the entire board here, you could answer and then open it up to any other board member for rebuttal to that answer or something too, right?
Potentially, but again, you're getting into that gray.
Okay,
area.
I'm
You
just,
start-
I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
be
work
real
through
careful.
this.
Be real careful engaging in conversations about topics that aren't on the agenda.
Okay,
Gotcha.
oh, go ahead.
No, that was it. That was it.
But it, like, we have, somebody who comes and does prayer as a public, is that okay? It's not on the agenda,
Does a prayer for the, during the comment period?
Just during public comment.
right?
No, that's
Is that
fine.
okay? Because it's not on the
They
agenda?
can talk about anything,
Okay,
just
Yeah.
whether we engage in discussion.
got it.
They can talk about anything to an extent. I mean, the board still has some control over somebody that's,
They can't come in and talk about employee A and start bad mouthing
Oh,
employee A.
there you go. There you go.
They cannot do that.
And they can't, I don't know,
Or students.
or be disruptive. You know, we can't start.
Yeah, if it was something that were to start an argument
Yeah.
among the people,
Mhm, mhm.
they can't
You
do
still
that.
control the meeting. You can take a break
Yeah.
at that point.
But when you enter that discussion, you're deliberating, and you can't
Mhm.
deliberate on anything that's not on the agenda. Remember, I
Mm.
think I use the best way to make a ghost go away is to shine light on it. You said the best disinfectant is sunlight.
Yeah,
And so remember, if we've got the sunlight of the agenda, we're okay. But if it's not, if that sunlight isn't there, you're not covered.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Because he brought it up that
Yeah.
if we have this agenda item for public discussion,
Mm-hmm.
as long as they're on something on the agenda, we can go back and talk about that again?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the chair on when you discuss the items on the agenda. You don't necessarily have to discuss them in the order that they're on the agenda. It's good practice to do that because somebody might just want to be there for that one agenda item. But yeah, if you revisit something that was on the agenda, it's still in the same meeting, it's still on the agenda. You could revisit it if you wanted to. Answer everybody's questions? Okay, next. Board of Trustees shall hear public comments if offered prior to taking action on an agenda item. Board of Trustees may establish reasonable standards for the public comment period. And there's a Mountain View School District Public Input and Ground Rules document, right? That I think is available on the website. That might be a link to it, I'm not sure. So, Tyler, to your comment, if somebody wanted to discuss something and have it on the agenda so they can discuss it, they can always contact
Always
the
contact
school
us.
district ahead of time and get
They
it
can.
within that 48-hour period. And if you so choose to get it on the agenda, you can.
Yeah.
And then they can discuss it in the same meeting they want to comment on it.
yep, yep.
Know your responsibilities. So you as trustees have two different functions in the same roles, the same jobs. You have a legislative function and a quasi-judicial function. In your legislative function, that's generally 99% of what you do. You can talk with the public about those issues, about filling the potholes in the parking lot. You can research the issue from outside sources. You can't talk with fellow board members about those issues. You have to do that in public or in the public meeting setting. You can't meet outside the public meeting setting and talk about filling the potholes with other board members, but you can certainly do it here. So it's on the agenda, it's in public, you can talk about it here. You can't talk about it outside the meeting. No legal requirement to explain decisions. You can just make the decision. You don't have to have a findings of facts, conclusions of law, analysis on every decision you make. You can just vote and make your decisions as a legislative body. You also are judges. You guys have to sit as judges, quasi-judges, for certain things. Hearings on personnel matters, hearings on your budget. Can't remember what said all the hearings were on, but anything you have a hearing on, you are sitting as a judge. So you can consult with the board's attorney about that issue. You can't talk to the public about that issue. One of the big things, like for the city council that we talk about, they can't talk to the public about land use issues that are going to come before the city council. So somebody wants to get some sort of variance to operate a business in a non-business area or non-business zone. That business owner, they can petition the planning and zoning board, they can bring it to the city council. But what they can't do is go to a city council member and say, I would like to run a business in this neighborhood. I want you to get on my side. They can't talk to you about that because you're sitting as a judge. You can only get that information in that recorded hearing setting. If you're getting information from the outside, it becomes problematic because not everyone is getting the same information. Not every judge is getting the same information, and it's not made part of the public record that a future court would potentially see on the transcript or the recording.
And so in that case, you want to recuse yourself from that vote, right? If something like that's happened?
Potentially. So if that's happened, you might have to recuse yourself, but you definitely need to shine some light on it. So if that person came to you and wanted to talk about Mary Smith or sent you an email about Mary Smith and you have a hearing on whether or not to terminate Mary Smith and they sent you an email about it, you didn't ask her to send it to you. She sent it to you. You have it now. One, it's a public record. Two, you should send it to the school district, and then they will disseminate it to everybody. So
Okay.
everybody knows about that communication, and then it's made part of the record for that hearing.
Okay.
So that there's not one judge who's gonna have some particular inside information that the other judges don't.
So you will have, your most common hearings, you'll have a budget hearing every year. The other two most common hearings are personnel hearings, where you have trouble with the personnel. And that happens in executive session, and we can discuss it in executive session. But unfortunately, what happens, people find out you're on the board. And so then they send you this email, oh, my kid has this trouble with this teacher and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's when it gets really sticky. So then the best thing to say to them is, I sit on the Board of Trustees and could possibly be a hearing officer for this topic, so I cannot discuss it with you. I am forwarding your email to our board clerk so that she can send it to all trustees so that they can be made aware of the information you have shared with me. That way you all get the information fairly.
We're talking about emails. The same thing applies to like letters. You receive correspondence in the mail. If somebody talks to you in the grocery store, I mean, you should try to put it down, right? I can't talk about Mary Smith. This is a possible thing that I could be in my quasi-judicial capacity on, but maybe this person isn't listening to you, and they told you about 10 minutes of something that you weren't able to walk away from. You should probably go back to the district office, disclose what was told to you, write it down, and then that'll be disseminated to everybody, so that everyone has the same information. Or potentially recuse yourself if you feel like you've been, that you couldn't be a neutral decider on that issue.
An example of when that happens, if it's a student issue and you're going to have a hearing, an expulsion hearing for a student, sometimes a grandma or a mom or somebody will walk up to you and go, I know that Johnny's coming before you guys, but you don't understand. His mom died when he was 3, and he's been raised by multiple grandparents. And that immediately is an emotional thing, and you can't be neutral after hearing he was suicidal or whatever those things are. That would be a time that you probably are going to have to say, I can't vote. I'm going to have to recuse myself.
And even if you don't recuse yourself, at the very least, you have to disclose to the board that disclosure. And hopefully through the district, but if you didn't have time to do it through district or it didn't happen, at least at the outset of the hearing, you disclose that information so it's in the record. The board may ask you to recuse yourself, you can recuse yourself, but make sure any officer that's gonna be sitting, any trustee will be sitting as a judicial, in their judicial capacity, needs to disclose any information they received outside of the hearing, including you can't research the issue using outside sources. You can't go out and research. You know you're gonna have a hearing on this student, so you go out and you start talking to his parents and you start talking to his teachers. You can't do that. That's gotta be in that judicial setting. And then finally, for the quasi-judicial capacity, your decisions have to be reasoned and explained. I don't know exactly what it looks like for your different scenarios, but generally when I'm doing a hearing for the commissioners, when they're done, they have to make a decision on it. We do a findings of facts, conclusions of law, and an order, like for the variances and for whatever comes before them. Just again, so there's that record of how they came to the decision. So if it gets appealed, the appellate body knows how the board came to its decision. Public hearings occur at a public meeting. Final decisions are not made in the public hearing. The hearing is closed, and then in your open meeting, that's when you make your decision based upon the information you received in the public hearing. Sometimes hearings, well, not hearings, well, those, you talked about expulsion of a student. That comes before the board, so you must do that in executive session,
Yes,
right?
and that is the only decision that can be made
In executive session, okay,
because,
so there's,
because
it's all
that
private.
law changed in 22 or 23. Because what was happening prior to that is the student and the parents were coming to the executive session, and then they had to wait for the public hearing, and they would say something like, student 2425-001 is expelled from, it's not hard to know who that student
Yeah.
is that you're talking
Right.
about. So they changed the law 22 or 23, and that is one of the only decisions you can make in executive session.
You get to set the ground rules for your meetings. The formation of a public policy is a public business, but you can adopt rules of order and procedure to govern your regular meetings. You can place limits on length of comments. You can place limits on topics on your agenda, but you can't limit public comment. I mean, within reasonable bounds, but if somebody wants to come in and comment on something, they have a right under Idaho law to come in and comment. But you set your agenda too. You're responsible for your own agenda. Be respectful, establish clear ground rules, empower board chair to enforce them. Give one person the floor at a time. Don't speak over others or allow others to speak over you. Speak up when the conversation veers off the agenda or into difficult matters. Acknowledge strong feelings and then redirect them to the agenda item. If one person dominates the discussion, call on others to participate. For example, thank you for your input, Sally. Would it be okay if we hear from Jill and Susan before we hear from you? Know the roles of board members. Discusses, debates, and votes on issues. That's what board members do. They follow board rules of procedure and conduct. They respect other board members, school officials, and the public. They may make suggestions for items to be placed on future agendas. Managing the conduct at meetings. Explain the ground rules to the public at the onset of the meeting. Is it a public meeting or a public hearing? Maybe different ground rules for different types of meetings, and maybe for particular hearings, there might be ground rules just for that particular hearing. Arrange the meeting room so it's conducive to the meeting and supports meeting hearing rules. You guys do such a good job arranging your meeting rooms. I'm always impressed. What happens when the debate or testimony gets heated? Tyler, use your gavel, take a break or a recess, and if it gets really heated, you can invite law enforcement to attend. I don't know if you guys get to that point. Sometimes we invite law enforcement to county meetings. Quorums and voting. A majority of trustees constitutes a quorum. A quorum is necessary for the board to conduct business. So even if you have your regular meeting, but not enough trustees show up, you can't do anything. You can't even sit there and discuss matters. You definitely can't take votes on matters because you don't have enough people to form a quorum, to have a meeting. All decisions or votes must be made in an open session except for the exception that we just talked about for the student. Votes are generally by voice vote unless otherwise provided by law. For example, a vote to enter into executive session requires a roll call vote or a voice vote as requested by a board member. Voting may not occur by secret ballot. Motions should be clear, succinct, and reflect the intended action of the board of trustees. Avoid motions like so moved. So you have a 10-minute discussion about something you're gonna do, and somebody says so moved. Well, that's not gonna look very good in
Let's
the
be
minutes.
honest, we do that quite often.
It's the
And
running
they
joke.
get told,
The running joke.
no.
It's my rule, once a meeting.
Yeah,
What the note taker should do at that point is clarify, did you mean
Oh, she does.
that
Oh, I
we're,
do.
There you
that
go.
we're gonna fill the pothole in the parking lot on Tuesday? Decision making, a valid decision is made at a posted board meeting with a quorum present on the agenda and listed as an action item. And so if you're gonna talk about a topic and take an action on that topic, it has to be listed as an action item on the agenda. If it's not listed as an action item, you can still talk about it, but you can't take a vote on that item until you have an agenda that lists it as an action item. Decision making is made by a motion, voted on by the board of trustees, and recorded in the official minutes. A valid decision is not polling the board, gathering signatures. Polling the board, I think the example of that is essentially, I think we should fix the pothole in the parking lot. I call all the board members individually and say, hey, I think we need to fix the pothole. What do you think? And Tyler says yes, and I call B, she says yes, and I poll everybody. That's not an official vote, doesn't count. It's an illegal action, actually. It's an illegal meeting. You can't vote by polling. You can't vote by gathering signatures like you can maybe with a board in a corporation. You gotta do it in a public meeting setting. Made in a properly posted agenda. So if your agenda's messed up, in some ways you can work around it, but essentially if you don't make your 48-hour regular meeting notice agenda, you don't post it, you can't have the meeting. So now maybe you do a special meeting on a different day, that's fine to get the business of the board done, but you can't do any business at that regular meeting if you screw up the agenda, or you don't get it posted.
You can't poll the board during the meeting either, can you?
Poll the board. You can do a
What do you
individual
think? What do you think?
vote.
What do you think? And then they make a motion.
You can. I mean, that's part of the discussion process. I guess you're asking for input from each of the board members. I mean, it's just a
But why do
discussion.
that when you're gonna get the vote in a minute anyway?
Yeah, it's redundant. Yeah. But yeah, I think you can. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
Because any member can ask for a voice, or a, let's say voice vote or whatever, individual vote on any topic.
And then you could abstain and then
And-
just vote in that final vote, right?
Oh,
You
somebody
wouldn't have
asks,
to be
somebody asks
poll.
you don't
Yeah.
have, you don't have, they can't force you to engage in discussion.
Yeah.
But when it's actually up for a vote, then you should,
Right.
yes or no.
Well, and that allows for more clarification.
Yeah.
Like Clearwater
Mhm.
voted on a 1-year levy because they didn't want to do a 2-year levy.
Okay,
And so TJ was talking about, he's like, well, I'm not for a 2-year levy, but I would be for a 1-year levy. And went back to the table because that discussion happened.
and that was in a public meeting,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, like, just being able to talk it over a little bit.
Like,
be
how,
like,
where you are on the fence.
well, I'm gonna vote
Yeah.
no here, but I will vote yes if you do this, type deal. It kind of helped the process.
Yep, and that's exactly the type of discussion you're supposed to have at a public meeting.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you can't, a decision making, it's not valid if it's made following deliberations that occurred outside the public meeting or hearing. So let's say we're all in the parking lot before the meeting started, we're all looking at the pothole, and we're saying we should fix this, this is a bad pothole, and then we come in here, and there's just a vote, fix the pothole on Thursday. What the heck, what are they talking about? There's no discussion about this, the public isn't informed about your decision-making process, your deliberation process. You come in here, you talk about the pothole, then you vote on fixing the pothole. You can't deliberate outside of the public. Open meeting law violations. Types of violations: inadequate notice for meetings, decisions made on topics not on the agenda, decisions made on topics improperly added to the agenda, decisions arising from deliberations occurring outside of the public meeting, failure to disclose a conflict of interest. It's kind of a whole other section of law. Any questions on conflicts of interest? No? Okay, that's a great question. If you ever feel like you have a conflict of interest, call your legal counsel.
You own the paving company, and we're gonna vote on
Yeah,
potholes in the
yeah.
parking lot.
Conflict. Yep. Open meeting law violations continued. Failure to comply will render the board action null and void. Any board member participating in an illegal meeting may be subject to civil penalties, $250 for just participating, $1,500 for knowingly participating in an illegal meeting, or $2,500 for multiple knowing violations within 12 months. Curing an open meeting violation, this is great. This is easiest thing in the world to do. If you had an open meeting violation, you can cure it by first acknowledging that a violation occurred in an open meeting, recorded on, or you have it on the agenda. We're gonna review whether or not an open meeting violation occurred. You talk about it in your meeting, and you vote on whether or not an open meeting law violation occurred. If it occurred, then you redo the action that was taken before. You have more discussion, you take a vote on the action again, you've cured it. Curing a violation vacates any potential civil penalties. The curing process must happen within 14 days of a violation or discovering the violation. A cure protects you from civil penalties.
Can we jump back to the last? I do have a question on that. Yes. Okay, so they knowingly are breaking open meeting law. Your clerk have told them to stop it. They still continue to do it. At what point am I gonna get sued?
Well,
Would
I would
she
need
if
to do a
she's
little bit
done
more
it?
investigation on whether or not a clerk is culpable. This may just
Because I
be for
keep saying
members of the
stop
board.
doing it, and they continue to do it.
Well, that's great you're letting them know. It's good you're letting them know in an open meeting setting. But I don't
I
check.
don't wanna be paying $2,500.
I don't think
for-
you're part of what that rule covers. Yeah. And any member of the public can give the board notice of an open meeting law violation. And essentially, once they have notice, the board can decide if they're gonna cure it or not. If they don't cure it and it's still a violation, then that could potentially could be escalated to prosecutor, to the AG's office for further prosecution. Guidelines for board member interactions. Prohibition of serial meetings. So there's two types of serial meetings: direct communication, indirect communication. So our serial meeting was kind of my example of me or a trustee calling up on the phone the other trustees and having those individual meetings discussing some issue that could be in front of the board outside of the public meeting. That's a direct communication serial meeting. An indirect communication would be that Tyler has his wife go around and talk to everybody on the board about a topic that Tyler wants you guys to all know about, or get information from you about this topic outside of the open meeting. Both those types of communication are unlawful, and it could be an open meeting violation. Communication with constituents. It's okay to gather information. Generally, you talk to your constituents. They voted for you to represent their interests. They can come to you, they can tell you about their problems. As long as it's not something you're gonna sit in a judicial capacity to make a judgment on, if it's part of your legislative capacity, you can talk to your constituents. You could fill this room with 300 constituents, and Larry, you could talk to all of them at the same time. And that's not an open meeting law violation, it's just you. You're not discussing with other board members, you're gathering information for how you should make decisions about your role as a trustee. Avoid using constituent interactions to pull other board members or form a consensus outside of a meeting. And that's like that indirect communication we talked about before for the indirect serial meetings. And be transparent. And so one of you has a meeting that has 300 people in it. During your discussion about that topic that you had a meeting with 300 people about, disclose, had a meeting with 300 people, and this is kind of what we talked about. Best practices: err on the side of caution, document communications, and then seek legal advice. You don't have to document every communication you have with a constituent, but we talked before about anything in that quasi-judicial capacity that you may have had a communication with somebody about. Document that information, share it with the district. Can a patron communicate with a single board member outside of an open meeting? Yes, we just discussed that. Communication between a single member of the public and a trustee doesn't constitute a meeting as defined by the open meeting law. But you can't have serial meetings with other board members, or that person can't go to every board member and have a serial meeting. And emails and letters from patrons to trustee about trustee business are public records. The serial meeting thing, that last slide, it talked about documenting communications. Why that might be important when you're just talking to somebody, if you know maybe a particular patron is really active and they're going around and talking to every single board member, if you somehow communicate you're having these conversations, it might prevent one of those serial meetings where that person is going around trying to pull all of the trustees to try to get their feelings on a certain issue or try to persuade them a certain way. Because those serial meetings are unlawful meetings. And so I don't have a good example for it, but you might want to kind of be aware of what all your other trustees are doing. And if you're talking to constituents that you think might be talking to other trustees, you might want to make sure everyone knows that you're talking to these people. Does that make sense? That one's a little squishy or kind of more gray, and I don't have a great example, but you don't want to get in that area where you're having these outside of the meetings by meeting with the same constituent. Every trustee meets with the same constituent and essentially has this meeting without it being public.
And when you say serial, you mean like repetitive?
Yeah, one meeting here, meeting here, meeting here. I have a meeting with every trustee.
Well, what you're describing is a lobbyist activity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, exactly. And so you disclose that you met with that person trying to
Whoever.
lobby.
Yeah.
And so everyone knows kind of what's going on. Maybe you invite that person to come to the meeting and talk to everybody about their concerns, because it's going to be the one person, the same concerns.
Right.
And don't have those serial meetings. Can trustees email, call, or text each other on a matter that foreseeably become before the board? No. And so, B and Tyler can't go out to pizza and talk about some agenda item that you want to have on the agenda, or some policy that you want to create, and you sit down there and you get it on your pizza box and you write it down. Can't do that. Now you're meeting outside of the open meeting. That stuff's great. You guys talk all you want and create all the policies you want, but you do it here. You don't do it at the pizza place.
Or Chinese.
Open meeting law applies to any deliberation, discussions between two or more board members on some matter which foreseeably will come before the board for action. So you guys can go to have pizza together and talk about what pizza you're gonna eat. You can talk about the baseball game. You can talk about
Kids.
color car you like, but you can't talk about the budget. You can't talk about, fixing the pothole in the parking lot. That's gotta be done at the public meeting. And you're kind of police over each other, right? That stuff comes up. Yeah.
I had requested information from the State Board of Education, and they said that for this next year, that we could meet together without violating that law, because it takes 6 people to create a quorum in our current situation.
No.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that. So right now you have 2 distinct boards, right? So I gotta be careful too.
Well-
I gotta be careful giving legal advice, but
We are and we aren't, because we have to meet together.
yep. So your plan that was established was that you all meet together until you're
Right.
fiscally separated,
Right.
right? And so if, again, I refer you to your school board counsel on this, but my understanding or my take on it is yeah, you're a board of trustees, there's 6 of you. You can meet, but you have to meet in an open meeting setting. It has to have an agenda, it has to be published and posted.
Okay,
As long as it's open, as long as the public's invited, it's in a public place, has an agenda, you can meet and discuss. If
Just
you don't
the
invite
5 of
these other
them?
trustees,
Yeah.
that goes against your plan that you've established for the deconsolidation. I don't think it's an open meeting law violation necessarily, as long as you do all those requirements for the open meeting.
okay,
The
yeah.
question is,
Again,
do
we've
you
got it
have
in
a
ready.
quorum?
We
You
don't
have
have
a,
a-
you have
no,
a
that's-
quorum for your board, you don't have a quorum for the combined
Correct.
board. How are you doing votes now? Do you do votes as a,
There's Mountain View votes, there's Clearwater votes, there's Grangeville votes. So if it's something that impacts the district, the
So it's-
10 vote. But anything that's CV is the 5 CV. So they are a board with, and our deconsolidation plan that's approved says that you are a joint board. So meaning you have a CV board and a Grangeville board who also work together as the Mountain View board. So you are a board of 5. You have to follow open meeting law
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a board of 5.
but if you met on your own and had the, did the open
Then we
meetings?
could, if we went through and provided the notice, because there's a lot of things that we need to decide that are,
Specific,
Relevant.
specific
That's
to
right.
your, so
Right.
I would refer you to make sure before you do that you talk to your council to make sure that something different than that plan is okay. But I think you want to be careful because you want to make sure you don't discuss stuff to be discussed as an entire joint board
Yeah,
to
okay.
make a decision on it. But something specific to your
Sure.
area, it'll probably be okay, but I'll check with legal counsel to make sure that what you're gonna put on the agenda is just for you
Yeah,
and the public, but
Correct.
just for you guys to make a
Okay.
decision
So
on. Yeah.
legal counsel says that Clearwater Valley Board may meet as Clearwater Valley Board with a properly noticed
Okay.
and agendaed meeting with minutes that are taken and action, and items only to impact Clearwater Valley after July 1st of 2026.
okay. Do you have that somewhere written
Oh,
down?
after.
After July
It-
1st.
You can meet before, but it can only be an event that would happen. Like, your
Yeah.
Got it.
decision would come into play after that day. I do have that email, I'll try to forward
Okay,
it to
yeah.
you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because Clearwater Valley doesn't exist
Right.
until July 1.
Okay,
You're a
but-
board that's making decisions for the formation.
But you might need to do some planning
Yes.
Right.
because
Absolutely.
that cutoff date, July 1, you're gonna meet and decide
Right.
everything that day. No.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah,
There's
that's
a
a
lot
good
of
point.
planning that we have to do. It's gonna be
Yeah.
substantially different in its final organization than what Greenville is.
Right,
Sure.
so they're recognizing, you have to
Yeah.
make plans this
Yeah.
year.
Right,
They're recognizing that. I'm trying to make it so that you're both making your plans for your districts at the same time, that
Yeah.
you can do it in a general meeting. But you can make those plans, you just have to do it in a minute,
Okay.
noticed and agenda.
okay.
We have 6 minutes.
Okay, I only have one more slide, I think.
Perfect.
Can two or more trustees meet for dinner with patrons to discuss a matter which could foreseeably come for the board for action? No. Open meeting law applies to deliberation discussion to two or more board members on some matter which could foreseeably come for the board for action. Done. Questions?
Thank you.
It is hot in here, is it right? It's hot.
5-minute break.
We have 5-minute break, I guess, before we start.
Did anybody have any questions? Did anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
I just
Tyler?
wanted to say
I'm
one
sorry, I have so many things going on.
Well, it'll be punched later.
maybe,
That answer your
I'm not
question?
sure who it is.
Ethics.
I think, could you form a subcommittee where you formed a subcommittee under the auspice of the board that said, here, these 5 people are gonna meet and they're gonna gather information and they're gonna investigate whatever they want to know. But then they wouldn't make decisions, but they would be a subcommittee under the board so that then they would bring any suggestions or whatever they found to the entire board that then could be voted on.
Was that for me? I can answer that.
Yeah.
Was that for me? Okay. So if it's a subcommittee of one,
No, a
Yes.
subcommittee of the
right.
5.
If it's more than one, they should be doing their work in a public setting.
That's, well, I still meant public.
Yeah, I mean, agenda, notice goes out. And then if the public want to come, I mean, it might be boring, maybe the public doesn't want to be there, but they still have to have it so the public can come and participate in that. Yeah.
And you label it as a special meeting instead of like a town hall or something?
Yeah, unless it's such a
Or
subcommittee
curriculum?
that you set regular meetings, maybe they decide they're gonna meet every Wednesday for the, foreseeable future, then they can have regular meetings, but if they don't have regular meetings, it would be like a special meeting, require 24 hours notice.
Okay.
We appreciate your
Good.
time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
That would just be a standing September agenda.
Like 2 minutes.
No,
That's great.
Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody, for making it. We have public comments.
Rose enrollment?
I'm trying to understand. I'm just wondering what the Clearwater Valley enrollment numbers are. Is there any way to find that out?
I think it's in both board reports when we get to there. I'll try to call them out for you. I don't know them off the top of my head.
251.
Is it 251? Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then city 11, once they get together, it'll be 262.
Ken Fair?
Thank you. I'd like to pray over the schools and the students for a moment. Father, we just thank you for the schools and the precious cargo they carry, the future generation. Father, I pray that the teachers, the administrators who have taken on the authority as parents would know that authority they have when the parents aren't here. And God, we know that you won't hold them guiltless who harms one of the least of these. And it can be a terrible thing to fall into the hands of God. And so we seek your goodness, your kindness, your gentleness that leads men unto repentance. For you are willing that none should perish, but that all should find everlasting life. And so we depend on you tonight, your presence in this room, the peace you bring, and wisdom and knowledge from on high during this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Moving on to consent agenda. Do the whole thing?
Yes.
We have a motion to consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
All in favor, trustee Willard, you probably need to abstain, right?
Oh, I don't know. Is that a relative of yours, the Weller? I don't know the relative.
Your
Sheena,
wife, right?
his wife.
So you- then you need to abstain.
Okay.
I have a
Trustee Manel?
quick question
Chair
here
Manel?
on the approval of supplemental contracts. Of course, we have extra days for a group of people. It'll be interesting to know what those were, but right below that, it says hard to fill. What does that mean and how does that apply?
So Idaho recognizes a few supplemental contracts. There's extra days. Generally, those are people who are in positions that have to work outside of a regular teaching contract. I'll give an example as a counselor, has to work in the summertime for registration, those kinds of things. So that's what an extra day contract would be. Hard to fill, those are positions that are extremely
Sure.
hard to find an applicant for. We have Elk City, it's hard to find somebody who's willing to live in a remote location. And then the other one is our speech and language pathologist.
Then, it would be, I live out there, it'd be interesting to know, what are the positions that, those quote hard to fill ones for Elk City?
I'm sorry.
What the actual position is for like in Elk City?
The teaching position.
Okay, so this is a teaching position?
Yes,
Kathleen? Okay,
yes.
so she's the one that's been there.
Pardon?
She's the one that's there, been there
Yes,
last.
she's
okay,
there.
yeah,
This is
okay.
just giving her an extra
Right.
stipend because she's
Okay.
living in a remote location,
Okay,
filling
all
a
right,
hard-to-fill
that
position.
makes sense.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I need you to say you're abstaining.
I abstain myself.
Sounds good. Moving on to reports. Superintendent's report.
Okay, as I have said before, my theme for the year that I'm challenging everyone in the district is to ask yourself regularly what am I doing to ensure the mission of our school? And if what I'm doing isn't directly impacting student learning, I need to reframe my work. So that's my theme for the year. My goals, my number one goal is to plan and execute deconsolidation, creating 2 unique school districts. As you see in your board packet tonight is the 2000 series of the board. What you will see over the next few months, as much as possible, I'm chopping up that deconsolidation and letting you get it in manageable, working through these policies. Next week, you'll get only half of the 3,000 policies. The 3,000 series is extremely large. So we'll just give you the first half so that you don't have to spend your entire month reading. I'm working on a vehicle inventory. Vehicle, in my mind, is anything that has a motor and wheels, doesn't even necessarily have to be on the road. We have golf carts in the district, we have buses in the district, vehicles, and that vehicle inventory is important for the deconsolidation. And then funding. The state of Idaho funds schools, and then they have a whole separate entity called transportation funding. And transportation funding is based on last year's expenditures. And so I'm working with the State Department about building clarity about how that funding is going to come to us when we're no longer Mountain View, we're Clearwater Valley and Grangeville. My second goal is to find avenues to improve patron relationships and increase transparency. I'm participating in a public forum next week, Thursday night, and we are doing things like putting signs in around Clearwater Valley Elementary to help with parking. Parking's been an issue around Clearwater Valley Elementary since I was a principal there 15 years ago. And so we're working on trying to fix some things there and to help with clarity by putting out some signs. My third goal is to build pride in our schools. I am excited to tell you that a majority of the senior projects that are coming through are about giving back to the schools, about improving our schools, our facilities, our programs that are here. And I just think that means so much that our students are doing their project based on what can I do to make my school better. That's awesome. I want to recognize that Grangeville High School was recognized as one of the top 10 high schools in the state of Idaho. That's a great kudos. I'm happy to hear that. And then on September 24th and September 25th, State Superintendent Critchfield is going to be visiting our schools. She is going to be visiting Grangeville High School on the 24th, and then Clearwater Valley Elementary and Elk City School on the 25th of September. Update for the board. I threw this in here just because I wanted to let you know we have a driver shortage in Clearwater Valley. We are short 1 bus driver for one of our routes. So Roseanne had to work some magic and create and reduce 1 route. So you may hear from patrons about, oh my gosh, the route's changed. We don't have a driver to drive that bus, and so we're having to do what we can do to get buses there. You will formally approve those in September. It was too late. In October. It was too late to get it on this agenda. And then staff recognition. I want to especially recognize Mindy Baldwin, who is working as a paraprofessional at Clearwater Valley High School. We were unable to secure a music teacher for this building. There weren't any applicants. Mindy stepped up, and she is working her tail off to provide that opportunity. She's working in collaboration with a teacher of record from Grangeville. So that teacher of record is helping her out and giving her some guidance, but Mindy is taking that role. And I want to recognize her and give her kudos because that's tough. That's a tough gig she's doing. And it's so important because music in the schools is there's so much research about how important that is and how good it is for kids. So I'm thrilled that we have that opportunity. So a shout out to Mindy Baldwin. And then also Melanie Martinez would typically be giving a board report tonight. She is out of town and unavailable to provide.
Good.
She submitted one and it's in your packet.
Yep. Well, with that, moving on to principal reports.
Thank you, Chairman Harrington. Colorado Valley Junior Senior High School. I thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to present to the board. Patrons, I am happy to present and announce that our school culture, that was one of my big first year goals that I was working on around here. School culture, I was a little concerned coming off of a summer break. How would that look at the beginning of the school year with some added policies put in place? The cell phone policy, that one was one that was really concerned about right here. Our school culture, in my opinion and others, is leaning towards this. We're getting back into respect and pride, and you can come to our school now. As a former graduate here, the fight song is part of you, and it's ingrained in you. And then as a teacher for 10 years, I never heard the fight song ever from our students. Our students are naturally, organically doing that at every game, and it's part of who they are. So they're taking ownership and pride back into the school. Our start of the school year, negative behaviors are down, absences and tardies are down. The cell phone policy is pretty much being honored, so we thought the board adopted policy might give us a little bit of headache going from having it on them full time to regulating when they can have access to that in the hallways and in the academic environment. They're honoring that, and they're holding to being good stewards and students of our school. I've heard staff vocalize what a great start, and those are quotes, great start from an individual that has been around a while and has said that it's the first time in 6 years that we've been off to this kind of start without the behaviors and the negative attitudes. And I can attest last year, office staff, Mrs. Childers behind me here, last year I told the staff, because we were from day one, we had a revolving door coming to the principal's office and addressing issues. And I told them I'd buy them pizza the first day. We didn't have anybody come into the office. It took literally about till Christmas time, but we got there. We're starting off this year, and we have only had, today we had a couple come in, but other than that, we're down to 3 isolated events for the most part on a start of a month. So to me, that's a good start. As a concern, as a leader here, admin and staff, we're concerned a little about deconsolidation. If you've known me or talked with me or been a part and listened to my messages before, I don't try to live on fear. I take what we get. But that being said, staff are concerned about the administrative leadership structure. What's that going to look like? How's that going to be had around here? Superintendent, principal, superintendent, federal programs, superintendent, whatever that is. Our staff is starting to ask me questions quite frequently. They're concerned about academic programming. What's that going to look like? Is it going to pull from what we have and offer? Are we going to potentially be able to do little different things? And then the biggest one of concern is the individual job security. That's one that staff are starting to ask questions. Am I going to have a job next year? And so those are things that are on people's minds, but they're not getting in the way of their job right now. And then to end on a good note, volunteerism, donations, partnerships are developing and coming in on their own. We did pretty good and reached out last year, but like for example, Rose called me the other day, offered her help with homeschool and getting that word out to people. So people are coming in and offering their assistance to us. Senior project had an individual do caramel apple nachos, never heard of it before. Interesting concept, and $668 later at a volleyball game for her senior project. Somebody out there in our community was inspired enough that we got Loretta, Mrs. Childers opened an envelope with $1,000 money order with the the post office's address, so we don't know who that blind donor is out there, but we very much appreciate it. That individual that senior is really excited that somebody is liking what she's doing. So to me, that shows how our community is coming towards us. Natural Honor Society started a food pantry, trying to help out with some of our less fortunate individuals in the area. We talked about it. I gave them space to operate, and the next day we had food already donated in. So that's a good thing for us. That showed that our culture, our pride, and our community and are getting together. And the last one I'd like to leave with is the Forest Service is extending opportunities to us. Mrs. Charlie took a outdoor science school field trip last year, great success, starting it again this year. The Forest Service is helping us out with funding, and it's getting to the point we got other teachers now going co-curricular, and so our dual credit geology class and I believe, forestry science class will be attending another 3-day outdoor science school fully funded on the backs of good old help from our partners. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time and appreciate you being here.
Mr. Chair, I visited both Clearwater Valley Elementary and Clearwater Valley High School today, and I found them clean, quiet, engaged in learning atmospheres. It was really awesome.
Great. Moving on to the financial report. Bonnie.
Okay, the superintendent asked me to present a PowerPoint to you tonight. Wrong thing, sorry. Sorry, I'm not very good with technology. Okay, so I know someone was asking about numbers, and this is what we have for Clearwater Valley right now. CVE has 112 students. Elk City is up to 11. Greenville Elementary Middle School has 474 students. Clearwater Valley Junior Senior High has 139 students. Grangeville High School has 275. Okay, what this PowerPoint is about is school funding. I'm learning, so bear with me, but I'm hoping to share with you how schools are funded. In Idaho, they don't fund you based on enrollment. It's ADA. It's like your best 28 weeks of attendance, and that helps make up what's called a support unit. It has to do with how many students, how often they come to school, and how many staff members you have, FTE. We get salary apportionment from the state for administration, certified, classified. We get apportionment for our benefits like health insurance, and then transportation.
Bonnie, can I jump in here for just a
Yeah.
minute? Sometimes you hear me talk about silos and funding and how you can't move. You have to spend money that's allocated in a certain fund. So anything that's discretionary, that's what pays for our power bills and fixing a leaky faucet, those kinds of things. That's discretionary. Salary apportionment must be spent on salary and only salary. And then benefit apportionment must be spent on benefits, and then transportation on transportation. So sometimes you'll hear like, oh, there was a 7% increase in insurance and they said they weren't going to change anything. Well, the budget is based on these silos, and when the state gives us more for benefits, then yes, we can cover that increase in benefits without increasing the cost to the taxpayer. But we can't save money there and then spend it somewhere else. It has to stay in benefits. Thank you, Connie, sorry.
No. Okay. So the discretionary money is $23,472 times 61, which is our support unit for this for 25-26. The salary apportionment, this is a simplified version of the formula. So it's like our support units times 0.75, and that equals 4.575, which is how much the state says how many admins we can have. And then this number right here, 1.58, I had to really dig to figure out, that is, it's in the next slide, it's a staff index, and that is a formula by how many years of experience our staff has and their educational experience and degrees. Certified, again, it's support units times 1.1, and then that's how, and then the state gives us $61,681 per support unit, and classified. Benefit apportionment is $1,160,442. That is for like Social Security and FERC, FICA, that kind of benefit. And then the health care is strictly for like health care, vision, dental, that kind of benefit. Okay, can y'all see that?
No.
This will be on the website too.
Yes.
Yes.
Like last year's,
year's
last year's is on the website as well.
Because even
So.
okay. So for healthcare, because we have 61 support units times our distribution factor, that is how we have $1,335,961 to go towards healthcare this year. And then the same for discretionary. The 61 support units times the distribution factor, and that's how much money we have for discretionary funds.
And you see a decrease there because we have fewer enrolled students.
Okay, this is for administration. This is how much the state says how many staff members, 4.575, and we have 5, our principals and our superintendent. And the district staff index is like a combination of their years of experience and their education. State-based salary times that, and that's how much they give us for administration. This is for certified staff, salary and benefit apportionment. Oops, I didn't change that to 61. Oh no, 69.1 is how much the state says how many staff members we can have, and we actually have 74 certified staff members. And then times the amount that the state gives us for each support unit equals 4,262,163. And then for benefits, for the certified, they give us 900,595. Okay, for classified staff like paras, paraprofessionals, custodians, non-certified staff members. This one, the state says we can have 22.875 like FTE. That stands for full-time employment. Our parents, our staff, they work about 9 months or like 3/4 of the year. And so we have 56 FTE, not 56 paras, but 56 FTE. Does that make sense? Okay. So the 22.875 gives us the 56 FTE for 3/4 time employees. Okay.
Because the 22.875 is for the 12 months?
Yes. Okay, this is our special distribution list. Of course, transportation is based on last year's numbers, and some of our costs are reimbursed at 50%, and some of our costs are reimbursed at 85%. So we get money for remediation, literacy, math and science, college and career, professional development, content curriculum, technology, property tax relief, continuous improvement, safe and drug-free schools. So the numbers in red represent a decrease. But these are strictly for these items.
What does GF mean?
What is GF?
On the right, GF less student, GF less student, GF.
General.
General fund? Is it general fund? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then here's our budget, and it shows, I don't know if you can see, it shows how it's broken down. Money earmarked, we get this money from state or federal. This is state discretionary funds, and these are local funds. And I tried my best to make it bigger, and like they said, it will be on the website. These are all of our expenses.
Do you want to just zoom in on the projector again?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it might be a little.
I can't even read it, so.
I think the big thing is if you scroll down to the
You'll see
bottom
that it
right,
equals.
our revenues match
It's the
our projected
Yeah.
revenues match our projected expenses. So the idea that we're running over budget, no, we have to have a budget, we post the budget, and we live within that budget. Does that budget include a levy? Yes, it does include a levy, because that's the decision, a local decision to purchase things beyond what the state pays for. Extracurriculars being an example. You didn't see anywhere in there where the state of Idaho gives us money for extracurricular expenses, but we do have that as an expense. So those are things that we need to support through a levy.
Okay, can I go on?
Sorry, Tommy, I'm just a jumper in.
No, that's fabulous, because like I'm new and I'm learning this as well. Okay, property tax relief. So the state of Idaho gives back money to relieve you from property tax that we collect for the levy. This year, they gave us $923,540. The levy was $2.9 million. So we will only collect $2,012,046 from patrons, or from residents, I guess. So I just want to make the point, like I said last time, if we don't need all of the money, we don't take the money from you. If the state gave us a property tax relief, then we don't take the full $2.9 million in levy money. Does that make sense? I hope I'm saying, okay. And that's it.
Any further questions? Well, then we'll turn it over to special education report.
Well, I always have to follow, they should let me go first so I don't have to follow all the stuff. In your packet, you should have gotten a picture. And what I really wanted to show you was a screenshot of our new special education platform. So we're in the process of switching from our current one that was costing us over $5,000 a year and they charged us if we wanted any kind of training or anything. We're switching to the state-funded program, so it is at no cost to us, so that is a savings to the district for switching to this program. We're also switching our Medicaid billing, third party, so we get it together, I make sure it's right, then it has to go to a process, an approved person grouping. So we're saving, we were at 6% that we were paying on remitted items, it's gonna go down to 5.5%, which right now we're billing out $250,000, so that represents a savings. The bad part is we're gonna get hit, but I just found out an update today, with a 4% Medicaid cut, so then some of our savings might be eaten up because of the cut. Although at a meeting yesterday, they did say that they were impacting the providers and not what we billed, so I'm not exactly sure. Like, a lot of the people that bill for us are district employees, our speech language, or if we have somebody that's a one-on-one, they submit the billing. So that wouldn't be, it doesn't matter how much they bill because they're a district employee and they get paid whatever they get paid. So we really only have very limited outside that would be truly impacted, like our physical therapist who would potentially be impacted with a Medicaid cut. And we are moving also our 504 platform to, again, the state gives it to us for free if we do our Medicaid billing with the same platform. So all of that is potentially a savings, or at least not an increase because of cuts that may happen. Currently, and you could see on there that we have, at the snapshot, there were 187 students in qualified for special ed. We have 7 students in the pipeline, which will bring us theoretically up to about 194. And we hovered last year between that, I think we were up to 207 at one point. So it fluctuates just like our enrollment, up and down, people come in and go. We do have an opportunity now, which we didn't always have, where we can go and look building by building and say who's in compliance, are we missing anything, what's going on. That should be a very big help. And we have one person who is not here because they're in Grangeville that stepped up, and because we weren't able to hire a SPED person, and she now has a huge caseload of 42, so Taylor Northrup's doing a really good job with that kind of a caseload. That's a lot on her. And any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to business, audit report. Let me get Jan Coleman on.
Hi Dan, can you hear us? Alright, Dan, let's get a sound check here. Can we give us a good evening?
Yes, good evening everyone. How are we doing?
Good. You're live, and the board, you can have some sort of view there, but
We're
we
just
are
gonna let you
listening.
take over.
So, go for it.
That'd be great.
Okay. My name is Dan Coleman. I did the audit for Mountain View this last year, and I'll be presenting on the audit tonight. Just curious, does everybody have copies of the audit there, electronic or printed out, that you can refer to?
It was submitted in their packet.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So similar to last year, we'll kind of highlight the audit report, there are a few things I'd like to show the board, go through the numbers just a little bit, and then finish up with talking about just a few things that are coming up as far as audits go. And then I'll be available for questions. The audit went well. Everything checked out good, nothing negative to report to the board tonight. As you go through the audit, there are 3 reports that I'm required to issue. The first report is on pages 1 through 4. It's called the Auditor's Report. That is where we express an opinion on the financial statements. So a lot of boilerplate language, but we went through the information, everything checked out fine, and so we've issued an unmodified opinion. We say it's unmodified because nothing came up during the audit process that caused us to modify it. So it's the best opinion we can give, and so we have financial information there. Very good job. On pages 52 and 53 is a second report that I'm required to issue. So when we come out to do the audit, we also take a look at internal controls and compliance items. We have a list of internal controls that we'd like to see, and we compare that against what the school has. And then we'll make suggestions, or if everything's okay, then we'll just move on. And for smaller school districts like yourselves, it's hard to implement all the internal controls that you'd like to see. Accounting theory would like to see lots of people in the accounting department, everybody reviewing everybody else's work. It's just not possible for smaller school districts. So we have taken review processes and used the current staff that we have to implement those reviews. And because we've done that, we have also issued a clean report there as far as your internal controls go. And then the final report that I am required to issue is on pages 54 and 56. When a school spends over $750,000 of federal money, they're required to have an additional audit. It's called a single audit. You guys spent about $1.5 million in federal money, and so you required that second audit. We take a look at your federal major programs, everything checked out fine there as well. So that is a clean report.
Good.
So 3 reports, all 3 clean. Very good. One thing we like to do is look at the school's finances just a little bit. The best place to review the finances is on page 10. School finance is broken down between major funds and non-major funds. And on page 10, we're looking at your 4 major funds. And I'd just like to mention a few things about each of those funds just briefly. And we'll focus at the bottom third or the bottom half of that page. That first column that you're looking at is your general fund. General fund, third number from the bottom. Pull my work paper a little closer so I can see it. Third number from the bottom, net change in fund balance, $1,235,675. So your revenues exceeded your expenditures by $1.2 million this last year. Very bottom number, ending fund balance, $2,140,110 in your general fund. That's where it ended as of June 30. On average, you guys are spending just a little bit above $1 million per month. And so that comes out to be about a 2-month operating reserve in your general fund. We do like to recommend 1.5 to 3 months. And so at 2 months, you guys are right there within our recommendation. So general fund is doing good. Second column over is your forest fund. Forest money has been very helpful for your school district for the last few years. Very bottom number there, your forest fund ended with a fund balance of $3,040,592. So over the years, we at times have transferred that money into general to help support the general fund. And this last year had the ability to build up that fund balance just a bit. just over $3 million. That's kind of like a rainy day fund for your school, and so it's nice to have that money there when you need it. Forest money, they have talked about getting rid of it for a number of years, but it continues to get paid out to school districts, and so we'll keep watching that here in the future. Third column over, Child Nutrition Fund. We had an $84,000 loss in the Child Nutrition Fund this last year. Very common for school districts that I'm auditing. Almost like probably 99% of schools are losing money in the Child Nutrition Fund. Anywhere from $40,000 to $300,000. And so your school also lost some money. We did not have to transfer in from the general to cover that loss. You actually had a fund balance carry forward that absorbed that loss. And your very bottom number, the ending fund balance there as of June 30 was $80,458 in your Child Nutrition Fund. I expect to continue to see losses in that fund into the future with inflation and rising food costs, and federal reimbursements are so small, those increases are so small, it will be hard to cover the expenses in this fund moving forward. As you guys move through your fund balances there, you may require at some point a transfer from the general fund to help support that Child Nutrition Fund in the future. Fourth column over, School District Modernization Facilities Fund. The State Department of Education ran a bond, and they passed out your facility money this last year, and that is supposed to cover the next 10 years for your facility needs. Very bottom number there, you're ending with $4.8 million in that fund balance for your modernization fund. You do have several non-major funds. They're located on a different page. We do review each of those funds under audit. Many of those are federal funds that zero out. No reason to discuss those in great detail other than just say that they're behaving like they should. And of course, if anybody wanted to look at some of those non-major funds, we'd be happy to do that here in just a few minutes. As far as what's coming down the line for school districts, we do keep track of the GASB statements that come out. Government Accounting Standards Board, they issue statements every year. Some of those apply to your school district, some do not. Nothing to report in that area this year. There are a few iFarms changes. iFarms is the accounting system that a school has to use to submit their information to the State Department of Education. iFarms is getting simplified just a little bit this next year. They're getting rid of a few funds and getting rid of a few accounts used in iFarms. And so, of course, the board is not going to be a part of that, but county will definitely see that this next year in the accounting. It's nice that they're simplifying iFarms just a little bit. So. One other change that might affect you guys, the single audit threshold is going from $750,000 to $1 million. And so, you know, what triggers that second audit that you received is when you spend over $750,000 of federal money. That threshold is increasing next year to $1 million. And so if your school spends over $1 million, you'll require that second audit, that single audit. If not, you will not require it. So we'll watch that closely this next year. Other than that, that's all I have for the board tonight. And so I'll turn this back over to you folks. And then if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to help out with that. So.
Any questions?
Nice to have a clean report.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We're good? I guess we're good. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Oh, do I have a motion to accept the audit report?
I move that we accept the audit report.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Moving on to deconsolidation. Anything you want to talk about?
Not a lot to report in deconsolidation. We're going to talk about a hiring timeline for administrative staff and kind of that personnel timeline in the next item. And so that doesn't leave a lot for deconsolidation. We will be releasing a contest, 2 contests open to students, staff, and patrons to develop the new logo for both districts. That'll be going out soon, and hopefully at your October meeting, you guys can pick the winner. And we'll use that for future letterhead and handbooks, those kinds of things. So that's kind of the next thing. Continuing with the policies, really right now a lot of deconsolidation decisions are going to be on a hold until November. And then hopefully in November, after the levy election, we'll be able to have, make more solid decisions. So kind of a little pause right now, getting some of the paperwork, minor stuff for the next couple months.
Okay. On to, any questions on, or comments on that? Moving on to approval of continuous improvement plan. We looked at this last time, but could you explain that a little bit more to us?
I absolutely can. So the continuous improvement plan is based on, there's 2 things that you're going to notice on that. First of all, they go by grade, so 4th grade. One 4th grade isn't the same as the next 4th grade. And so you'll see those goals change a little bit based on the kids that populate that grade. So we've all heard like, whoa, that class are rock stars, they're just hitting it out of the park. And then we've also know that there's some classes that challenge us a little bit more, and those scores aren't quite the same. So that's one of the reasons that you'll see some change in those goals. Also, what is required in this is what's called a SMART goal. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So realistically, we want to say 100% of students are going to be proficient. I mean, isn't that what our hearts want? Like 100% of students are going to go on to post-secondary training of some sort. 100% of students are going to do a study plan for graduation, but that's not a SMART goal. And so some of these scores in here, when I was visiting with one of the trustees, they were kind of concerned, like, well, why did we have a goal of I was looking for one that went down 90, but now we're at 85%. Well, those are different students that populate that grade, and so then that number has to change to reflect the students that populate that grade. So we're tracking grades or test scores, IRI, ISAT, IRI for kindergarten through 3rd grade, and then ISAT for 3rd grade through 9th grade. So those scores track as they move through the school year. When Kim Fales does her presentation, I believe she's on the agenda for next month, I don't know that for sure, you'll see she'll give you a chart, and it's actually color-coded so you can see those numbers as those kids progress through our system.
Do all districts have this?
This is a requirement of the state of Idaho, and it has to be submitted to the state by October 1.
Any further questions? We have a motion to approve the continuous improvement plan.
I make a motion that we approve the continuous improvement plan.
Second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Hiring timeline for new district administrative staff. Do you want to elaborate that on that? Sure.
As Mr. Martinez said, there's concern about, in the community, about when that's going to happen and when we can advertise, and now there's even question as what those job descriptions would look like.
So typically you hire, look, I'm going to start from the superintendent position. Typically you hire a superintendent in January. That's when candidates, let me rephrase that. Typically you begin looking to hire a superintendent in January. That's when candidates become available. School boards should offer a contract in January to their superintendent if they plan to keep them. And then they know so then that superintendent knows whether they're looking for a job or going to stay in the same place. So that's when applicants become available. And then principals, typically you offer those contracts in February or March. That's when candidates become available again. And then teacher contracts you do in April or May. in deconsolidation, our deconsolidation plan for teachers is pretty simple. The teachers will stay where they are. That's the plan. And the funding for both buildings is based on support units, and so that funding for those teachers is in place, with the caveat that should a levy fail, there are, like some of your electives might go away, but that's based on a levy, that's not based on deconsolidation. Administrative structure, again, we'll have to wait to see if the levy passes in November. If it passes in November, then there would be a recommendation for administrators to hire. My recommendation, if the levy passes in November, is that you have a superintendent, special education director in both schools, and then you have building principals take on some of those other federal programs, curriculum, all of those other things. So there'd still be 2 principals and a superintendent, and then the special ed director position would be assigned to the superintendent. If the levy were to fail, that structure would be tightened up, because that would be a place that I wouldn't want to recommend you make that cut, but it is where we'd have to tighten up a little bit to be able to get to that number. So that timeline is really, I would want to put, I believe we'll have levy results by that November board meeting. I would want you at your November meeting to decide on your structure, your personnel structure for both buildings. For both districts, excuse me.
Are we going to be able to poll the current employees and see if they have some ideas on structure of that and how it looks, or is that not really? Is it necessary? Just because there's, I look around at other neighboring districts and they're all kind of different.
So it's a conversation we have in the leadership meeting.
Oh, good.
Often leadership meetings are comprised of our principals, our directors, our business manager, human resources, so and superintendent. So in the leadership meetings, we have those conversations often. I wouldn't be afraid of polling the teachers, but I think the teachers are concerned, am I going to have my job?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they may, I don't know, I don't want to speak.
But they can also talk to their leaders, and then the leaders bring it to the leadership meeting.
I certainly don't have a problem with having a little
I was just, they can just talk to their leaders. If there's, I was just hoping there was some sort of way for people to provide ideas.
I have the same concern for CV. I wanted to know what current administrators see as options, what they suggest, and where they're at as far as combined positions.
CV, based on their numbers, I had that conversation with the CV administrators specifically. Like the 2 principals and I had a separate conversation, because CV is going to be smaller. And so that structure is going to be tighter based on the numbers here, a little over 200 kids. And so Mr. Martinez and Mrs. Martinez and I met and discussed that. Originally, I was kind of leaning towards a principal, superintendent, principal, some federal programs kind of structure, and they were like, well, we talked to other administrators. They would like there to be a superintendent, special education, and then 2 separate principals. Okay. So they would like that 3 administrator structure. Okay. So that's why I'm putting that forward.
Okay, thank you.
So the timeline of posting, like say we post for a superintendent in November. How long do you typically wait before you close that position?
Probably sometime, well, it depends if you get applicants. If you get applicants, I'd start interviewing in January.
Yeah.
If you don't,
We've had a hard time getting applicants in the past. That's the whole thing.
I've been beating my drum trying to get people to apply. I've had a few conversations. Yeah.
And the other possible hiccup is if we hire internally, then all of a sudden we're going to do a big shuffle as well.
Right. That's why you want to
So we
do
wanna
that
get on it
superintendent as early as you possibly can, so that if you do hire internally, you've got time to do those others. I think the reason I'm here from 2 years ago is because it was too late when the position came open. Beyond the control of the trustees, that's not at all what I'm trying to say, but it was late when that position was announced and opened.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to fill.
What
If you,
happens if you don't have applicants?
You beg retired people to come back?
No, my husband said no.
What are you doing this year?
If you don't have applicants, then you can assign people who are currently in your staff to do it. And then superintendent's a tough one. There aren't very many avenues for an alternate authorization for a superintendent. But there are some. There are a few avenues there. They have to have worked in a public school and they have to have an administration degree. They don't have to have been a superintendent or have that endorsement. But many of us are getting old and they're hard to find. And you know, it is interesting trend in the research that people are, I used to say that we have the Walmart effect, like it's hard to recruit a new teacher to a town that doesn't have a Walmart. If it's so small it doesn't have a Walmart, it's hard to get them here. But that's actually changing, and both LCSC and the University of Idaho reported last spring that their new teachers were saying, I want to work in a small town. I want to work a long way from the city. So that's really awesome. So there's a possibility that there will be some change in those numbers.
And then I had a question also kind of related to that on what about the timeline for hiring the other positions like clerk, HR, payroll?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Good question.
When would we do
Same
that?
thing. You'd start advertising those as soon as you know what you can financially afford for structure and start advertising those.
So
if in November things are ugly, then now you in December and January you're sharpening your pencil and seeing what you can create to be able to advertise and hire those. And you'd want to, like for instance, your board clerk is a very important position for keeping us all out of trouble. Business manager is an important position to keep us all out of trouble. So getting them hired a little bit ahead of that July 1st date, which then has to be a 10 board member decision, by the way, because you'd be using Mountain View funds to do that, so that they can get some training. We'd want to get those positions. Superintendents and principals go to college and get a degree about that position, and so they can just come on. But your board clerk and your business manager, they rely on training outside of like a college degree, so you want to hire them and get some training ahead of time.
Any other questions? No action, right? We just want to discuss. Okay. Moving on to approve.
This actually needs to go over this evaluation.
Sounds great. Approval of evaluation forms for certified staff, and I'll turn it over to Chairman O.
Chairman,
He needs to state that agenda item.
Chairman O, before you state that agenda item, may I give you just a caveat for the next two agenda items? The state of Idaho requires a board-approved evaluation tool for teachers and administrators and counselors. Those have to be approved by you as a board and then submitted to the state for approval there. So that's part of the deconsolidation plan. So there's two items, one for Clearwater Valley and one for Greenshell.
Was that preliminary form distributed to us to look at?
In your board packet, yes.
Okay, it's in the board packet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we know where in the board packet?
Well, it's right here behind this tab for me, but.
Yeah.
Chairman Minogue, can you please state the agenda item before we continue?
Okay, we're talking about the approval of evaluation form for certified staff.
In the full PDF, it's 88, I think, where it starts. Page 88.
Page what?
88?
Thank you.
Can't see it. Well, I'll open it up here. Comments from the personnel. Positive, negative?
Looked fairly straightforward to me when I looked at it.
Okay,
These are our current evaluations, so we use a Mountain View School District.
okay, yeah, all right. Then I will open it up. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve the evaluation forms for certified staff.
Okay, we have a motion.
So you have administration, certified, and counselor. So you can put those all into one motion, and you don't have to make three separate ones.
Okay.
So please make your motion read that, thank you.
I make a motion, we approve evaluation forms for administration, certified, and counselor.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Tom. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passed unanimously.
All right, back to us. Any approval of evaluation forms, certified staff. And how long have these been in place?
The form itself has been with the district, it's based on the Charlotte Danielson, and it was required, I think I was a principal at CVE, so a long time ago.
So we haven't even
So,
made any changes since then?
No. Well, we have. The cover sheets are changes because since that time, if you look at the teacher evaluation, the state of Idaho determined that we had professional, advanced professional, and resident professional and advanced professional certifications, and then their pay that goes with that. So the cover sheet was added just to make it for clarification. Nothing was added to the evaluation, just so that teachers knew whether they had met those criteria. So.
Entertain a motion. We're losing everybody.
I had to go to the bathroom. Long, it's been a long evening. I make a motion to approve the evaluation forms for administration, certified, and counselor.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I'm gonna note in the minutes that those two were
That's
not
fine,
here
we'll
for the
move on.
motion. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Attendance to the Cardinal Manufacturing Student Workshop, that was it?
Okay.
This needs to go to Clearwater
Oh.
Valley, please.
That's
No,
over
no,
here.
it's his, I'm gonna turn it over. Chairman Bonneau, do you wanna elaborate on that?
Chairman.
Sure. The Cardinal Manufacturing
Okay,
has.
well,
Chairman O, may I?
you need to state the agenda item before you can start talking, please, so the audience knows where we're at. Thank
Okay,
you.
we're
I'll
talking
actually-
about
Next time I'll just.
the attendance at the Cardinal Manufacturing Student Workshop that will be held in Wisconsin on October 16th. And that relates to a program for hands-on shop type teaching that can be done within the high school. Now, I've asked Vinny, who's a lot more, on board or understands it a lot better at this point than I do, to actually tell us more about that. Vinny, could you step in?
So, Chairman O, may I address that topic first?
Yes.
Okay, so prior to this becoming an agenda item, there was a request to me to attend that workshop.
Okay.
That is the process for attendance at professional development and expenditures of those funds. I
Okay.
approve those funds. And I had asked Mr. Martinez to give me a ballpark figure
Right.
about what that would cost for one person or two people to attend that fund. Mr. Martinez did exactly what I asked him to do and gave me that number. Now I'm trying to figure out whether I can figure out some professional development funds to pay for that and make it happen. He did, in his research, find out that there are, October 16th is really close, and that drives our expense up because of airplane tickets are more
Sure.
expensive if you don't. And he found out that there are additional dates, and Mrs. Charlie has reached out to find out when
Good.
those dates are and the locations of those. There may be places that are cheaper. This particular one in Wisconsin, I think you have to fly into Minnesota to get to.
Yeah, that
was the
closest, cheapest.
Yeah, so it's not the easiest school to get to because it's one of those Timbuktu schools.
Okay.
Maybe some of the other locations would be less expensive. So we already are in the process of that. I
Okay.
don't believe it needs to take board action. If
Could
Mrs.
we-
Charlie wants to address it, that's fine.
Could we at least do the presentation here now to describe what it would be involved and so forth? And at least make a preliminary, the concern I have is that we, have something that we have approved to happen, that we don't get stuck, right ahead of the next board meeting or something like that, where we can't approve it there, assuming we have to approve this at a board meeting. Now,
So-
if you can approve it yourself,
The board does not need to approve this
Okay.
because students won't be traveling. If students were traveling, yes,
would
the
be.
board would have
All
to
right.
approve that. It's just a professional development expenditure, which is within my
okay, all right,
responsibility.
very good. I would still like to have,
Absolutely.
Vinny and Miss Charlie. Yeah. Principal Martinez, sorry about that. My bad.
I think I haven't referred to you as Dr. Minnow much either. So, what Chairman Minnow is speaking to is there's a school in Strum, Wisconsin. It is a rural location like ours. And this gentleman, through John Silveria and others, John brought this to the board and to the community a few times over the years. He reached out to Mrs. Charlie and I. We met with him over the summer, and I think Mrs. Charlie's had a follow-up conversation. He come out and checked out our shop and was informing us that our shop and what we have the capacity to do is right up what Cardinal Manufacturing. So what it is, it's a school-run business through their school program, and so it teaches them the actual hands-on, but they are actually making products for machine shop products for their businesses, for their communities, for that niche market that they have there. And so in having this opportunity or getting a workshop, the workshop is during a school day. There's options like Mrs. Holthouse said. You can go on non-school days there and go in and talk with them and look at the facility, but you don't see it in action. And so the workshops that they set up are based on a school day, and it's an 8 to 3. You get in, you come in, and you review their shop. And when I say shop, I'm talking state-of-the-art shop. It's like a fully functioning shop, multi-million dollars, and they're in the profit generating portion of where they're at. Their program is fully self-sustaining, and it runs itself at this point. And so it starts from the ground up. I'll let Mrs. Charlie speak a little bit more about that. And when I say ground up, I'm talking at ours is 7th grade. That's what I'm considering the ground up. From the 7th grade level, they get exposure and they work to where they're hitting to the high school years and actually getting employment. So without me speaking on that, I would like Mrs. Charlie to add to that.
Sure. So the way they run it, they start out with their training in 7th grade, and then as they progress through, they're becoming certified welders and what have you. And by the time they're juniors and seniors, then they actually apply for a job to work there, where they can be working and receiving school credit at the same time. And it runs year-round, so they're actually working in manufacturing products throughout the summer there. And they started out, I can't remember, and I think that I highlighted some sections in there with some tabs, but they started out really small, just like us. I mean, they're a rural school.
You want this back?
Took the tabs out already.
Oh, that's all right. They're a rural school, and like Mrs. Holthouse said, they're not easily accessible by airport, and they're a lot like our school. And they started out really small. They weren't getting much back, in return, just like any other business to begin with, but now they're getting up to, $100,000 profit per year. So it's a really good self-sustaining idea and concept that I feel would be beneficial for our school.
And feedback from a lot of our students, and certainly my generation and others that I've talked to, I hear all the time, if that would have been there, I wouldn't have gave you this kind of trouble in the classroom. If that would have been an opportunity, I would have stayed in school, or I would have been more engaged. So to us, this is an opportunity to go get some information, go get some research. So we're trying to do our due diligence and not just say we're going to do this. We want to pursue it, we want to do it, but we want to do it a little bit mindful. And being mindful about it does cost a little bit of money, and it's a dollar value. It was, as Ms. Holthouse said, it was the quote I provided was a quick snap.
See what can be done. I might know some folks that would make a contribution to pay for at least a portion of this travel, because it would fit with their interests and desires for this area.
I'd be willing to pitch in.
So if you will both let our business manager know if that the amount, you don't have to do it out loud in a public meeting,
Yeah,
any
yeah.
donation that you have, then
Yeah,
I'll
we-
make sure to factor that
Yeah,
in
at
with
this
our.
point, I don't know, I have not, but I know some folks that I think would be interested.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you so much because taking something on like this and starting is a lot of work for the people that are going to be doing it, but it's usually worth the reward. And I've been wanting to do this for like 5 years, but it really takes that someone that will be willing to do that. And so I'm just grateful that you're willing to do it.
Can I ask a question? What would the timeline be for implementing this? Like, after you do go to this workshop, how long would it take for you to implement this at the school?
So the process is kind of long in building. I mean, we're already building products and we've already been selling stuff out of our program. It's just not an official, like a business type concept. So I don't know.
I could see, we see it, the infancy part being next school year, and so, as a career technical education teacher, we were successful in running a small school, student-run business here at this school. We had a concession stand, but it was, what we call a concession stand. It was a convenience store concept, that was our concept, until we were meeting the needs of not having that there. So, it starts out just like any grassroots business. It's a business, and it starts small. You don't put too much in too fast, and you work up and graduate to it. So, in essence, the classes, the programming could be done. What capacity and layer these guys are taught, what we're presenting to you is multi-year pursuits. But we could be teaching the classes next year. She's already teaching most of them, it's just, and then how they structure them together. And part of that training workshop is that it's a model, basically, a model that's something that's been proven. And so it's been so proven for these folks that they developed a workshop off of it because they've had such success throughout the nation. And so, long answer to a question, then I think we could start implementing the coursework and the building of the program. Now, how she does have some state-of-the-art equipment off of a grant that we wrote, or was written last year, the year before. So we have equipment out there. It's just bringing it all online and bringing it together with a full business concept.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Really good job.
Chair Minot, do you need any
Nothing
further
more,
comments?
that's,
No action taken, is that?
It's been 2 hours with John going over this. John Severa.
I believe there's no action taken, correct?
We're
You're
all
gonna
right
wait
with that?
for
That's
the-
great
okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to reactivation of concealed firearms policy 8705, and I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, well, to stick with our policy and procedure, as it were, I make a motion that we reactivate policy 8705 that was several months ago put on an inactive status. So I move to reactivate policy 8705.
So I think when we did the policy, we were asked to have like the money for the program that year.
Got all that answers for you.
Good, okay.
Yeah, I would actually entertain some more discussion.
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
ask the Vice Chair specifics.
Can I ask first why it was deactivated?
Sure, we ran into a, what I'll succinctly refer to as a legal roadblock. We didn't do anything wrong. It came very late in the process. We were actually at the point of training some staff who'd applied to be grantees, and the county attorney objected to how we were doing this in essence, and so we said, okay, we'll stop. And other things have kind of sucked the air out of the board with respect to deconsolidation and the levy and all that. But with these, to call them tragic doesn't do it justice. We had the shooting at the Catholic school in Minnesota. We had another shooting within, I think, 5 or 10 days after that at a school. We cannot not do everything that we can reasonably and within the authority granted to the school board. Every school board in Idaho has the authority to arm or choose to arm persons for, actually the law doesn't specify a purpose, but in this case it would be for enhancing the overall safety of the students and staff at our schools.
So were the county attorney's concerns resolved?
No, what it came down to was we had a recommendation from the school district's council that we utilize the sheriff's department for the training. So that was what was written into the policy specifically. And when it got right down to it, the county attorney wouldn't allow the sheriff's department to take on the liability of being the trainer for this sort of thing. They said that's not in your job description, and so that's what killed us at that point. So since then, I've done quite a bit of research, met with a bunch of people, and I think I have a clear path going forward. I apologize for jumping. But 2 items down is I'm going to make a request for a single subject special meeting so we can discuss everything involved with this in public, and hopefully sooner than later, because and there should be questions and I want questions. But at this point, we're reacting a policy that's already been in place so that we can move forward with then looking at the amendments that have been made to the policy and hopefully adopting those.
Can we amend it without reactivating it?
I don't see how.
Yeah, so that's what I'm,
'Cause,
that's
like, we
where I'm
don't-
at too, because we kind of need a first reading that I kind of want to ask a few things in the reading before we reactivate it.
Well, what I was trying, and I'll spend all the time you want tonight talking about any part of this that you want. My thought was we had a pretty full agenda already. We're blessed to have a certified trainer, highly respected trainer right here, who wants to come give us a presentation on what service they would be providing for us in that model. That's the reason for the special meeting. And at that point, once they've done that, then we can talk about the nuts and bolts of the policy itself in public. So I'm not trying to shut down any discussion tonight, but it gets pretty complicated. And I can't qualify myself as a subject matter expert, but I will say my background as a law enforcement firearms trainer and a retired peace officer, and having other people I know that do that kind of work, I think is why I took this on in the first place, as being something that we needed to do. Riggins, Salmon River School District, I just refer to them as Riggins, has had a program of arming staff for almost 9 years. And I went down there and spent time with them, saw what they did. Much of what you see in the red on the revision side of this thing is from their policy. One of the biggest things right up front are all the definitions, okay? I think it's important that people understand, what are we talking about here? In terms of the environment, like what is great bodily injury? What does it mean to use deadly force? What the heck is a certified firearms instructor anyway? So that's what all the definitions are about, you see. And so we can walk through every part of this. It's got guidelines on when physical force may be used. What do we mean when we say physical intervention? What is deadly force? What happens if a person gets injured because of a staff's use of force of any type? What do we do with that? Do we just stand by and call an ambulance? What do we do? So these things need to be spelled out, because I think in order for the public to have confidence, more specifically the parents, grandparents, to have confidence that we're being as reasonable and responsible as we possibly can be in this area, that we need to have the specificity. So I apologize for the length of this. I think it's 21 pages to include the 10 attachments, but I'm still better than Riggins, because they got 13 pages without the forms and attachments. So I've tried to boil it down as succinctly as I can, but it's a complicated subject.
Vice Chair Dunn, my recommendation is not to reactivate a policy that you're about to change. Because if you reactivate a policy that you don't think is correct, it becomes incorrect.
Well, we don't have it. I tried to find some kind of guidance on this, because I didn't want to run into another legal technical roadblock of some means, since it's on the record that we suspended it. See, since we did that, I felt I needed to unsuspended.
So
we have a
the
lot of policies.
unsuspending would happen when you reactivate, or when you amend it, and then once you amend it, then you say, and then once that final amendment is approved, now it's policy.
Fine,
It takes
whatever gets this,
whenever
whatever
that
gets this boat in the water, that's all I care about.
Who's currently training Salmon River?
AFD, Amy George's, and Jeff.
I have several questions. I took some notes on my phone.
Yeah, go for it.
And I don't know, like Mrs. Holthouse said, I don't think we should reactivate it before we make some changes, because I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go through my questions right now, but like, what would the extra cost be to the district? Who's purchasing the firearm? Who pays for that? Where is it gonna be stored? Who pays for the proficiency training? Who pays for the yearly, recurrent training?
Okay, well, let's do one at a
Is
time if you
there-
want.
Well, I mean, I think this is gonna be a long discussion.
That's why I was gonna recommend that we hold a special meeting to address those things. And all of those are answered in the policy, by the way.
Okay.
They actually are.
We went through it for a long time.
We did, I think we had 6 meetings about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
And we approved it.
yeah, we
But
did
then we just didn't have
unanimously.
the money and
Yeah. Well,
training.
we got it started. We went through the psych evals and we put forward a class of staff, and I mean, we were on the road, and no pun intended, we were on the road to doing it until an attorney popped up. And I don't know who it was, by the way, I honestly don't know, I don't even
I
know.
would interject that for such an important policy regarding our student safety, that the funding shouldn't matter.
Well, but the issue is, though, we do have funding available. I've been speaking with Mrs. Green about it, and we have an answer for that. And rightfully so, we need to.
Well, we have to fund it.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think it's important enough that it needs to be funded.
So here's my grand overall plan. We adopt it with whatever revisions we need to make it a policy that everybody is comfortable with. And then we move forward, and if the new districts want to then adopt it, they can do that. But right now, we're still Mountain View. So.
And the hard part is there's not funding from the state. I mean, there is the discretionary funds, but if a levy doesn't pass, that discretionary fund has to go to.
I believe that originally you planned to use a safe and drug-free schools
That's exactly
money
right.
So there was a funding source
There is.
available to pay for, and they did, there are weapons that have been purchased.
Yep.
There's ammunition that has been purchased.
Yep.
Do we have the holsters yet? I
Nope.
don't think so.
No,
Safes,
we were
don't have
just right on the cusp.
So we were literally at that cusp. So there is funds available
Mm-hmm.
for, could you exhaust those funds with the training? I don't know what that training cost is.
Right,
So-
and that's one of the
So there's
things-
a limited amount of funds.
There's also grants from the Justice Department.
Right.
There's tons of grants. So if
Some-
we needed to fund them that way.
Somebody suggested, the district was given 7 Glock 19s from, I don't know what they call it, the local NRA affiliate, donated the guns to the district like 8 or 10 years ago, and they never got put into use. So those are the guns we're talking about that are able to be used. The policy, just to get this moved on, is if you want a district gun and it's available and the trainer says that you can use it effectively and safely, okay? A Glock 19 is a full-size handgun. A small stature lady or man, for that matter, may not have a big enough hand to be able to properly grip the gun, right? So all of these things have been taken into account.
So my recommendation
However you want to do it.
My recommendation is that you do not, this action item is to reactivate an old policy that doesn't work. Let's not do that. And then I would suggest that you have your first reading of this proposed policy.
No, that's the next item.
A first reading, so that's the next agenda item, and that's when you can start having that conversation. First read does not make policy official, it's just, this is your
Right.
conversation, your concerns. Then you come back to the next meeting with, some changes, some draft changes, and so I would skip that
So we'll just do a no
Okay,
action.
that's fine.
It was a motion?
You
Oh,
have a motion on the table, so
We
you
do.
have a
Do we have a
motion.
second?
We did.
No second. I
Yes.
didn't see the second.
No.
Did you second?
No, let me
I was
don't.
in the process
You,
when I got
okay, you
cut off.
seconded? Okay. You guys need to speak up and not raise your hands.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would second that motion, but I would also,
Okay.
make a motion related that we.
Whoa,
table-
one motion.
We got one motion on the table now.
Well, wait a minute, this relates to the motion that's on the table.
It's an amendment?
No,
You can't
it would
amend
be
the motion.
postponing the final decision until we have this special meeting.
Well,
You wanna make
Well, we're
amendment?
deciding tonight to not reactivate it tonight.
Right.
So that would be a closed door.
I think let's just go with our first motion. Are you
Right.
okay without amending it? And then we can say no to reactivation?
may I suggest, can I withdraw my motion?
You have
can
a
do
second already.
I realize
You cannot
that,
do
but how do we cure
He needs
this?
to call for a vote.
We'll just call for a vote.
You call
That's
for a
fine.
vote.
All in favor of reactivating? Say aye. All in favor of not reactivating? Nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Now, let's move on to concealed firearms policy.
Revised, first reading.
Revised, yep.
Number 9.
Revisions, first reading.
That's okay.
So now.
Now
let's
we're
dig
on
through
track.
this.
So I have a question. Can we
There we
set
go.
a special meeting date just for this policy?
That's at
Because
our
it's gonna be
discretion.
lengthy?
That's our discretion.
I'm just saying that's a lengthy topic. I feel like there's a lot of questions to be answered and we may want
And that's
community
what
input and.
Vice
That's what
Chair
I'm-
recommends.
that's the
that
reason.
We do.
Okay, because I have a lot of questions also,
Good.
so.
Just
Right.
make sure to read through, because we had so many questions and we truly addressed.
I
so
did
pl-
read through it. I
Oh, good.
still had questions.
Okay, good.
That's fine.
I read all of it.
No, that's
I
what
still
makes it
have
a better
questions.
policy.
Okay, good.
So that was one of the things I also was gonna ask is if we do hold a special meeting, would it be probably smart for us to have our legal counsel weigh in on any of this? A concern for me is liability.
Actually, I've, in the process of putting these revisions on paper, I've twice contacted our legal counsel and sought his advice, and that's been incorporated into what you have. In fact, I believe, if not 4, probably at least 5 times over the course of the couple of years that this thing's been in the water, that we've talked to the
So
same
our legal
counsel,
counsel
actually.
has already weighed in on this, and that's already reflected in this.
Yes.
Perfect.
But I will say, because he asked me to tell you, he welcomes anybody else's additional questions as well.
And do we need to approve you accumulating hours with the lawyer?
I don't know. I called him and he answered.
Does that
Is he
work?
on retainer or is he paid by the hour?
He's paid by the hour.
He is, okay.
Technically, that should be a board decision. Whenever we encumber a bill for the district, whenever you spend the money of the district, it should be a board. So if the board were to take action and say, we direct Vice Chair Dunn, excuse me, we direct Vice Chair Dunn to seek the counsel of the attorney, then that gives him that authority to encumber that bill for the district, keeping it as clean as possible. That's-
Well, I respectfully disagree, but I don't want to get off track. Anyway, yeah, I'm with you. Bring the questions. We need them. We need them.
Yeah, I think school safety is obviously very important. I have kids in school also, but I did have some questions about the security of firearms, location, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So,
You
Are
need
there
to be
any-
there, right? You and I have spoken.
Any
Ty.
questions or anything we want to address in this first reading? I have one.
Yeah, go for it.
Page 6 of 11, board clerk will make a detailed verbatim as possible or as directed written record.
I'm sorry, page 6? What was the
Yeah,
other?
6 of 11, number 3.
Oh, okay.
So, like Matt Jessup said, that it's hard to, it shouldn't be a transcription.
Yeah.
Most of them. Can we do that as an audio or video
As
recording?
far as I'm concerned, I think that would be preferable. Really.
Okay.
Because it does say also or as directed. So whatever works for us to make a proper record is fine with me.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if we want to say something like that, or we can just add our discretion. We
But it says or as directed, so.
We'll just need to change written record to,
Well, there's going to need to be made a record of what we did in an executive session.
You cannot take minutes in
Generally, like we
executive
did.
not executive.
You cannot take minutes in executive session.
Can
We could if we
record?
wanted to.
No, you cannot.
Can we
Just remember,
record?
we gotta
You cannot
throw
record
everything away
executive
after that.
session.
We have to give it back to them.
So an
Oh,
interview.
we
Executive.
did our notes, okay.
So, is there any way to record that interview?
Not in executive session. Executive session is, there are no minutes taken in executive session unless you are dealing with a student expulsion.
Vice Chair Dunn, may I ask what is the intent of the recording of the interview?
Because, let me make sure I'm in the right place. Yeah, this is during the application consideration process. So this would be the interview of the applicant by the board. Okay, which is, by the way, something that I'm borrowing from Riggins. This is what they do. This would be a new thing for us. I just felt there needed to be some kind of record of what the interview was about. Now, there's a form that says that it happened, that the chair signs off on.
And Riggins records theirs?
You know, I didn't ask him that. I didn't ask him that.
My
Yeah.
brain is split between employment law, where an interview is private, it's not a public record, but then the other flip of my brain is going, oh, the board is doing this, so
Yeah.
then it is a public
Exactly.
record.
And it's an employee.
But then that would be an executive session, and if
Right.
it's an executive session, then there isn't written minutes
Yeah, I
of
don't-
exactly what happened.
Maybe
Well,
just
that
find
was-
out what
that was
Riggins
making my
does.
brain smoke.
It's not
Okay.
necessarily.
I'll find out what
employee,
Riggins
though,
does.
Always, right?
Say again?
It's not necessarily employee, this allows volunteer staff.
It could be. It could be, yeah. The law is not exclusive. And I'm using the language of staff, just so we're clear, which in my opinion includes anybody. It doesn't just have to be teachers. It could be paras, bus drivers, custodial personnel, so. Comptrollers.
Can I make a motion that we set up a special meeting to
Well,
talk about this? No?
No.
Oh,
We're not there
Cannot,
yet.
because you are not on that agenda item yet.
all right.
We're just reading.
I move that we go with this first reading for policy 8705. That we move it to first reading? Is that what I need to say?
Okay.
Made a motion for a first reading?
Accept
Yeah.
the first reading?
With no revisions.
Yeah. Right now.
The first reading
First reading
of the
the
proposed.
revised 8705.
Yeah. And we need two readings to
No
approve?
less than.
Well,
Okay.
and then
That's
what
what
if we,
policy
what if we change it at our next reading, then are we gonna have to read it
Move
again?
it to three. Mhm.
Well, we can make,
Well,
we
I
have
ki-
done this.
I kinda wanna address this first.
Okay.
We've made minor changes to policy before verbally, so it depends on what the changes are.
We were wondering what, he's gonna check on what Riggins does.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
executive session, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
So.
Are there anything,
I guess we can do it, but this may be changed, which then would require a third
Definitely.
reading, so.
yeah,
Alright,
we're just
we'll
moving
go
it
with
to
that.
another reading.
The next level.
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Under definition staff, it says any person employed or a volunteer. Could we say approved volunteer?
I don't know what an approved
Maybe
volunteer
we
is.
shouldn't-
We
say
do
staff
have
then.
volunteers in our district have an approval process
Oh,
to make sure
if
that
that's-
there's a background check completed. Those
If that's a quasi-legal term, is that the right way to look at that?
a district approved, then it would be giving
Well,
the
yeah,
district
of
that
course.
approval.
And there's something about,
I
they
just
need
don't
to be
want.
around for a year.
Right?
Yeah, I just wouldn't want someone to think, to read that portion and think, oh, I qualify, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go volunteer. So
Yeah.
a district-approved volunteer would just makes it a little bit cleaner.
I'm sorry, one more time.
That's on
Any-
it's on page 1 of 11,
Right.
and it's under definitions 1.
Right,
And my suggestion is that any person employed by or a district approved volunteer.
okay, good.
Any
approved.
person employed or a district-approved volunteer.
Do we call them staff or do we call them carriers or something like that? Like, I just feel like staff is a little misleading because we're not hiring these people.
You want to just say employees?
But they're not our employees either because we're not hiring them. We're not paying them. We're not employing them. I feel like we need to say carriers or something like that.
They're called grantees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
That
for
works
this,
good, as
for
long
this
as it's not
defini-
staff.
for this definition, he's defining the word staff as used in this policy.
Okay.
And so then it would be any person employed
Yeah.
or a district approved volunteer.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, under number 9 on page 2, intentional application of force through the use of permissible physical contact. Under physical force, my concern
I see
there
it.
is the state of Idaho very clearly defines when school staff can use physical force.
Right. Good, got it.
And then on page 4, under F, there's just a typo. That's an easy, sorry, I just noticed it.
No, it's okay. What numbers?
F, it says F comma, and I think you meant F period. Person injured.
Oh, yeah, I see
Oh,
it.
what does that say there?
Cool. Well, I'm sure there's a few of those.
Yeah, I've made my share.
I guess spelling to page 8, under J and A, subtitle A, and it says certified trainer, but that's just spelled wrong.
Oh, yeah.
What's spelled wrong?
So much for spell check, huh?
What was spelled wrong?
Trainer.
Trainer.
Oh,
Says trainer in her.
Anything else?
Chairman Harrington, you do have a motion on the table. No second.
Okay. I would actually, I mean, you can have a second, but I would like to interject, maybe amend the motion or withdraw the motion and
You
ask
can't
to.
withdraw the motion.
I can, because there's not a
You
second.
There's not a second.
She can amend her motion.
What do you want me to say, Tyler?
Or just amend your motion.
Yeah.
To just say with these corrections.
Sure.
Sounds great. Whatever I say.
I move that we
Sounds
accept the 8705 for the first reading with the amendments
There you go.
And
as
just,
proposed.
I'm sorry, just for the record, I checked, policy requires it, at least 2 to make a decision. So when I started in this business, I thought we had to have 3, but we don't.
Good.
So,
Okay.
But we might utilize.
oh, yeah,
three.
well, what did we do this 6 times?
Yeah.
6 board meetings for
Last
this?
time.
Do we have
Yeah.
a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
You, oh, okay. I was like, oh, you made the motion, but I guess you didn't. I am losing my mind.
All right. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Scheduling of a single subject special meeting, which we were talking about this.
Right, my request is next Thursday evening, which is the 25th. That'll give us time for notice on the agenda, and that's when Mr. and Mrs. Georges are available, the trainers, to come and make a presentation about the services that they would be providing us.
There's also a town hall in Grangeville for the senior center for school vouchers, if anyone wants to attend that at that same time. I won't be able to make it.
I won't be able to make that either.
I'm
What time did you
unavailable.
say?
My
that
kids are in
evening.
fair that day.
You said 6?
Say again?
What time did you propose?
Evening, 5 or 6, whatever works. I'm not sure.
I'm unavailable that evening prior to.
Okay, the next date they're available is October 1st. I think that's a Wednesday.
am not available that day.
I'm
I
not
cannot
either.
take minutes that day.
get someone else. Can we record it and have those minutes,
Well, I suggest you find someone to take your minutes for that evening, because I.
Yeah, because we're gonna we'll
You
have
have
to work through that.
They have a substitute appointed, don't
Carly,
they? Oh, we didn't appoint a substitute?
Oh, yeah, huh. Another substitute.
I can do the 6th, that's the next available time.
Well, one of the things I was concerned with doing this is it's going to be, even if we were to approve it and say go tonight, it's still going to be a couple of months down the road before we actually get this implemented because of what it's simply going to take to get it organized and the training and like that. So I was hoping not to put this off a month and then another month and then another month. I think it's important enough, and this is just me talking, so, but then maybe we'd be able to inconvenience and just get after it. That's how I view it.
Trustee Dunn, Vice Chair Dunn, are they going to charge us for this presentation?
No.
And then do you have any idea, I'm just thinking about bidding, if we have to go to bid, do you have any idea how much their training is?
What's our ceiling for a bid? 10,000?
I think if it's over 5, we have to get 3 unofficial bids or something like that. I don't have that. This brain is 60
Yeah,
years
I'm
old.
pretty sure
I
it's
can't remember those
10,000.
numbers.
I know it isn't gonna be $10,000.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with what specifically, how much do we want them to do
Okay.
versus things that we can do in-house with
Okay.
other resources.
I just wanted to make sure that we were trying to keep that in our mind as we
Oh,
make some
certainly.
decisions
Yeah.
here. And I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, sorry. Have to look it up every time.
Right. So the 1st and the 2nd of October don't work? We can't get a quorum at least?
I can do the 1st. I cannot do this, I can do the 1st and the 2nd.
Yeah, I
do
can
the
do either
first.
of those.
Yeah, me too.
I can do the first.
So who's gonna take your minutes?
Could we ask Colin?
What day is that?
She's like. Okay, so we need to
I
find
can
a
do the
substitute.
6th. I can do October 6th.
I can do the 6th.
Well, I'd like to finish with the first date. How many people can make the first?
But you need a clerk to
I
take your
get that,
minutes.
I get that, I understand, but no offense, but it's a matter of taking minutes, you know? I'm sure we can find people who are skilled
like
enough to do
legal
that. I get that,
minutes.
but it's taking minutes, okay?
I guess not.
So anyway, I thought I saw a majority of hands that the first works.
Available the
Hands
first.
up, first works.
If the first works for
We
you,
can't have
Is this-
legal minutes.
How many can do this,
Um,
how many can do October 6th?
In other words, can we make it a workshop?
I'm fine with that,
To
whatever you wanna
simplify
call
the
it, but
process?
we can't make a decision
Is
at a
he,
workshop.
like, it's just a matter of Jim George is gonna come and present what he can do for us.
Right, and then we wanna get the questions answered and dealt with that the board members have about the policy revisions.
Yeah.
Okay, which we could ask questions but not make decisions until the following meeting? Would that be okay?
And we lose a month. For what
We do.
reason would we lose a month? We don't have a good reason.
No,
Larry, I
October
think
6th isn't a month.
Well, no, I was talking the next meeting, so I assume he means the third week of October.
So October 6th is only 5 days. And I can do the 6th.
And then there could be a vote. Raise your hand if you can make October 6th.
What day is
It's a Monday.
Yeah, I could probably make it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'd like, okay.
Doesn't sound like I have a choice.
Yeah.
The 6th.
You can do October 1st and just do it as a presentation.
I was trying to keep it
And a
efficient and not have to
conversation.
have multiple meetings.
Yeah.
Let's just get down to work and get it done. That was my objective.
So if you did the October 1st,
Mhm.
and then we made a decision at the October regular meeting,
Which is a month away. Even if it goes first and then we wait 3 weeks to make a decision.
I cannot do the 2nd. I'm available on the 6th.
Okay.
I cannot do the 7th. I'm available on the 6th.
okay.
Well, it's
So the
sounding
board
to me
meeting's
like
the
we don't do it on the
16th.
6th, we're gonna wind up waiting until the next meeting.
Which is the 16th.
30th
Right.
of September?
I'm not
Yes.
making that
How
motion.
about, I'm gonna throw out a date, October 30?
September 30.
I mean, September 30?
I can do September 30th. Mhm.
I could do that.
I don't know, they gave me 3 dates for their availability. They don't work for me, right? So September 25th, October 1st or 2nd.
Oh,
Because they have a business, they've got a regular business
okay,
that they run.
well,
Okay, couldn't you do the September 25th presentation, and then we just have a special meeting the 30th? If that's what you want to do?
Can I suggest something? You have a couple dates that are available, September 30th and October 6th. Could Larry by chance get a hold of these people and ask if any of those 2 dates work, and then he can get a hold of myself or the superintendent, and then I can reach out to the board and let them know when those days work.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Sure. Give me those dates again.
It'd either be September 30th or October 6th. Right?
I'm fine with both of those. I can
So do we need a motion to set a meeting for, can we do it either?
I don't think you need a motion to set a special
We're
meeting.
just gonna set it.
Okay. I don't think, do no action on that, and then will you please just email me and let me know which date it is, and then I will email the board and let them know.
The 30th
And then
or the
I will-
6th.
And then I will post a special agenda.
Okay.
Within, I know the rule is 48 hours, but I would like at least,
I'll
four or
try and
five
have an answer
days
for you
to
by
let
tomorrow.
everybody know.
I'll try and have an answer for you by tomorrow.
And your agenda items on that meeting would be to
It will be-
listen to their presentation and then to work on the policy?
Certified trainer provider, is that the agenda item?
And followed by
Policy read.
the revised policy discussion and
So
any
2 agenda items.
2 agenda items.
Would we do a second
Yeah.
reading at that point?
That would be as the second reading, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just as stated on here is plenty fine.
So no action at this moment. Okay. Second reading. Okay, thank you.
And 5 PM, I assume, or do we want 6? As long as
I think 6 for, is it gonna be in Grangeville or?
I don't know, I
where would
was
it be?
assuming so, yeah.
Yeah, it would probably be at the
Grangeville High
Grangeville
School.
High.
school. Okay.
I'd prefer 5 if we could do it, but that's my.
Me too.
2 cents.
I prefer 5.
5 o'clock? Okay.
Okay, so we have a spot for Grangeville High, 5 PM, and Larry will email me and let me know what day, and then I will email the board. Sound good?
Okay.
All right. Moving on to air quality policy. First reading.
So this is simply a first read. I don't know what happened. There used to be a policy in Mountain View School District for air quality of when we go outside and when we don't. I know it was a policy in 2018 because when I was working in another district, I stole your policy to use in that district. But we don't have that policy sometime between 2018 and now. That policy disappeared.
Weird.
And so a couple weeks ago when air quality was really bad, I said, oh, we have a policy. And I looked for it and we didn't have it. So I took superintendent leeway and said, this is our procedure until board can read and approve policy. So in your packet you have, and this is a Mountain View, not a Clearwater Valley. It will get worked into your Clearwater Valley and Grangeville when we come to that section. This is a first read of air quality policy for the Mountain View School District. And this is what we have been living by. This is what the district used to live by. It's funny. I went to that other district and stole the policy back.
Really?
This is the same thing that the
HSA uses, yes.
recommends as well, right?
Yes.
I move that we accept the air quality policy as presented.
I second it.
As a first read.
As a first read, thank you.
Read.
I did catch myself.
I second that.
Any discussion? Amendments? There. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to high school weighted grade policy. I will turn this over to trustee Edwards.
I just asked that we put this on for a first reading because there's a lot of kids taking harder classes and they're weighted the same as if they were taking a basic class. And so we really want to encourage kids to push themselves to do more. I don't know how else to say this without, it's just some kids are getting, when you graduate, there's some things that are based on GPA and like scholarships and placements in college and so our kids currently that take higher level classes aren't getting that getting the value of those harder courses in their GPAs.
I think it's a good idea. Reward students for challenging themselves. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I have a friend whose son goes to U of I, and he had a 3.9 GPA, and he got X amount of money from the U of I for a specific scholarship, but his roommate had like a 4.3 GPA, and he got even more money. But we're maxed out here on a 4.0 GPA, so it does limit our students on what they can get in scholarship money at certain colleges and universities.
Well, there's no real incentive to push them to take the harder courses right now. And even some of those kids that want to be valedictorian or salutatorian, they're thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't because the basic science is just as valuable as the honors science. So I should just take the basics so that I can make sure that I maintain my GPA, which is, according to them, more important. Yeah.
We currently don't have a district policy for.
No, the policy now is just a 4.0 policy and all classes are weighted the same.
I think it's a good policy. I came from a school with weighted averages, so I think it makes sense.
I make a motion that we approve the first reading, is that how I say it, of the high school weighted grade policy.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of policies,
Chairman
Series 2000. Oh,
He needs to make that
Chairman
statement,
O.
please.
Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't notice that.
All right, this is, I guess, the first of a group of these things. These are policies that have been in place in Mountain View for some period of time. The question being, do we wish to adopt them as they stand for Clearwater, making appropriate adjustments where necessary to wording? You want to review it? You want to discuss it more? Do you want to just say, let's do it and we'll deal with it later?
Well, I read through some of these, and I don't think it's anything that is life-changing.
Yeah.
Mr. Minot, Dr. Minot, am I allowed to?
No, it's them, sorry.
It's
Well-
policy.
Are not.
I'm comfortable with it, with maintaining
guys-
it there.
It's their item.
That's
You
okay.
can call on them.
I'll make a motion that we approve policy Series 2000. Do I have to read every single one of those?
Nope,
Okay.
got it, as listed.
As listed.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the 2000 group of policies as listed.
We'll get our turn.
Any further discussion?
You'll see in a minute.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
They can amend it.
Motion passed.
No, once it passes.
Yeah.
All right,
All right, we'll see.
back to Grangeville here. Approval of policy, Series 2000. Anybody have any?
I have two
Objections?
items with respect, and I'm curious to
Comments?
see, I'm not clear on what we're supposed to do when we have a package. We had talked about previously pulling them out, and then are we gonna deal with them tonight? Or are we gonna deal with them later?
We can amend them tonight.
I think we can amend them tonight if everybody's in agreement
With
with.
their revisions.
It is. Okay, this is 2500 and 2530. My objections are a few, but they're all related. With respect to 2500, there is a reference in the first paragraph under library materials where it says, third line, however, the board recognizes students' First Amendment constitutional rights. I object to that language being in the policy, and not to put anybody on the spot, but does anybody know what the 5 rights are that are listed in the First Amendment? They are freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the right to assemble peaceably, and the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. My first question is, how does this apply to a library policy? So I say we just strike it. That's my first suggestion. My second part of this is, and I mean this sincerely because I understand that I think the intent of putting this in here was to add the Idaho Children's School and Library Protection Act, which is awesome, and I'm glad we're doing that. Thank you, Superintendent. The other issue I have with this policy, however, is its reference to this thing called the Library Bill of Rights. And the Library Bill of Rights is, with all due respect, I hope nobody in here was involved in putting this together, right? This is a document that was put together by the American Library Association. And my principal objection to this is that out of the 7 rights that they list, which is fine, 5 of them are either dismissive or plainly ignore parental rights on the issues that they list. And that's unacceptable to me. We should not include these as a matter of our policy by reference. Finally, the Idaho the American Library Association, very unfortunately, a couple of years ago, was, and I have more on each of these subjects if you want to go into further discussion, was taken over by new leadership who has taken that organization into a serious left turn. The organization promotes everything from Black Lives Matter. You go on their website, they are staunch DEI advocates. They don't mince words about it. They're proud of it, and they have been involved in promoting and facilitating drag queen story hours to children. The American Library Association.
Vice Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. I can't find where.
In the second policy, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, they're related.
I can't find it
Now
here.
you're on 2530.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The second policy is 2530. I should have
Okay.
referenced. My
I'm
apologies.
sorry to interrupt. I just was not finding that at all.
Yeah. On the bottom of 2530, by the way, the page numbering needs to be fixed. 2530, which is related to learning materials and review and considerations, references that the Library Bill of Rights and the American Library Association. And so I would strike any reference to those items. I will note that on 2530, the second reference is the Idaho Commission for Libraries, which is the one we ought to be referring to and not the American Library Association.
Help me with both of those sites again. I'm sorry, I was trying to find 2530.
2530 policy number.
Right, I'm on 2530. Where in?
All the
is
way at the end, on the
reference?
references.
On the references.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Library Bill of Rights?
The Library Bill of Rights is, that should be struck as a reference
Okay,
because it's just too disrespectful to parental rights. Dismiss it. They don't even consider them. And that's unacceptable to me. And we have a commission here in Idaho called the Idaho Commission for Libraries. I looked over their website pretty extensively and they do a good job.
so for me, on 2500, you're asking to strike the sentence, however, the board also recognizes the student's First Amendment rights, and you're asking to strike the Library Bill of Rights.
Correct.
So those are the two strikes in that
The two strikes in
policy.
that one.
And then in 2530, you're recommending, oh, I lost it, hang on.
No, you're fine.
You're recommending in the references to strike the other reference, Library Bill of Rights.
That's correct.
But
Are
you'll
that-
keep
is that-
Idaho Commission
Did I catch
for
all of your corrections?
libraries?
I have just one more, if you don't mind.
Okay.
On page 2 of 2530,
Okay,
where you have the 5 numbered items. The last one, number 5, any other appropriate individuals selected by the superintendent. I would ask that we add the words "or the board." And that's a library review committee.
so there are 2 corrections in both of them now.
Yeah.
You're recommending 2 corrections in
Yeah.
both. Okay, I just didn't want to miss something that you spoke about.
You know, the American Library Association, by my reading, has been around for 150 years, and it's been politically co-opted, and I think that's pardon my French, a damn shame, because they've done a great job over the years in helping get established community libraries and school libraries. There was a time when those weren't all that common, so kudos to them, but they are making some bad decisions these days, and we need to not be a party to their foolishness.
So we already had a library materials review committee policy, like how we were gonna select those
Both of
people?
these are Mountain View policy.
Already?
Both
Is
of
it the
them were,
same-
indicate, I wasn't here, that they were approved the year prior to me getting here.
We
Okay,
didn't,
good.
we didn't
Okay.
get through all of them. That's
No, but we did get through the selection committee, the review committee. We got through all of that. I just wanted to make sure that was this.
I'm just telling, what we currently have as policy is this.
Yeah.
And it's based on, according to the notes, that it was approved in the 23-24
Mhm.
school year.
Yeah, remember all those meetings we went to?
Oh, yeah. It was good. We got a lot of work done.
So for your edit, are you just switching the ALA to the Idaho Commission for Library?
I think it'd be wise.
Okay.
That way we just don't have to deal with it, you know?
So we're just getting rid of the Library Bill of Rights.
Library Bill of Rights and any reference to the American Library
I'm
Association.
okay with that.
As long as we put the reference in there that we want the Idaho Commission for Libraries.
Yes,
to
and
remain.
also, Mr. Chairman, my first reference was to however, the board also recognizes a student's First Amendment constitutional right. That's a legal fiction. Doesn't exist. It's a political tool for people, and I've done my due diligence on this. That is literally a tool that they use to say that children, believe it or not, have the right to decide what materials they're going to look at in a library. And
I'm
I
for that too.
beg to differ.
Yeah.
Didn't we already change that?
We should
I feel
have.
like we already did that in the
I know, we
pol-
had that
policy
conversation.
committee.
I don't think it happened.
Okay. Well, let's,
So can we go ahead and approve these changes?
With
yeah, we have to
changes,
make the changes, yeah.
It'll be a motion with changes. Yep, absolutely.
I will entertain a motion at this point in time.
I move that we adopt the amended policy, which it is, with the additional changes discussed in this meeting.
Are you, all policies is listed with the changes you talked about?
If we're comfortable with that, I am.
Did you fix both of these?
I
with
did on my
this?
paperwork, I scribbled on them.
No, but like with them? Because we're gonna be adopting all of them.
I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do them all as a group, or we
I
can do them
second that
individually,
motion.
just as
We
long
have
as
a
these
second.
changes get made. I'll be
Further
happy.
discussion? Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right.
So I have a question, this is leading, it's a leading question for my friends in Clearwater Valley. Can they make some kind of a motion to change their decision if they wish on these policies that they've approved?
Well, we'd have to go back up on the agenda now.
Okay.
That agenda item is,
I believe Mr. Jessup told us we can move around on the agenda as we needed to.
We're
Just a
we're
suggestion.
missing our chair right now,
Yeah,
so
you're
let's go
missing
to,
a chair.
let's go to informational items at this point in time, and we'll ask the chair if he'd like to talk about that. ISBA Region 2 Fall Workshops.
So that's different than the conference. There's the conference that we've been asking you to make a decision about. ISBA Region 2 Fall Workshop is September 29th in Lewiston at the Diatley Center. What they do with the fall workshop, so school boards before July 1st make recommendations to ISBA what they want them to lobby for. ISBA is your lobbying organization. So if you want to change the one of theirs a few years ago was we don't want to make decisions about student discipline in a public meeting. We want to do that in executive session. So a school district asked ISBA to lobby for that, and that change was made. So what would happen at this workshop is they would go through all of the recommendations made by various districts in Idaho and have a conversation about should we move forward with this or not. So I find it very interesting and really good for knowing what's coming up in the legislative session. Again, that's 5:30 to 7:30 at the Diatley Center in Lewiston. If you want to attend, please let Charity know so that she can register you to attend. It is free of charge.
Well, since we still don't have a chair, we're gonna go into this public discussion.
okay, I'll set your timer.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything about the agenda today or anything like that they'd like to address?
Oh, I haven't looked up in forever. Everybody left.
Everybody's good.
Wait,
All
I
right.
have a comment, just for maybe a question. It feels like the gun policy, just like, we want to get it done, like, hurry, get it done. And I get safety, but as a teacher, I'd be terrified to carry. And I won't, and people can. But I just wonder, I know things have been crazy, but it just feels, why not wait until you're two separate?
I think it is good to give it time, give it the time it needs. And once we're done with that time and we've made a good decision, yeah.
That felt like a tidal wave, and I need time to process before I make big decisions. This is pretty big.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of effort put in this already. Like they said, 6
I know.
meetings or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to vet it.
I've been pretty regular at meetings last week.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I have,
Yeah.
and I've heard and seen, and I just, as a teacher, that's what it just felt like.
Well, I think you also have a personal experience recently with guns. And so I think that is something that we should consider. Yeah.
Maybe the public feedback, the teacher, get the teachers involved, your staff, because the word volunteer, I mean, you guys, I know you would be careful with that, but.
Well, if there's any teachers that have any feedback, they definitely should come to the meetings that we plan. If they care. I mean, that's the thing, like, we've been saying it for years, like, they don't show up. So if they care, they need to quit talking about it in the lunchroom and actually, like, come to the meetings and give our feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah. We all are, trust me. But we need to prioritize what's important.
I get
And this is important.
Spread the word. That'd be
Well,
great.
also, I think it's important for community members to email input. I understand everybody can't make it to a meeting. I'm the same way. I have kids and lots going on. So if you have staff that has opinions or feedback or questions, encourage them to email the trustees too if they can't make a meeting. And like they said, that's information that we can forward on to Tracy. She can share that feedback with the
Please
board.
email me and I can share with the board.
That
Yes.
saves a step, but yes, yeah.
Wasn't
Send us your
there-
input and questions. If they can't make it, let us know what you're thinking.
I feel like there's an email like school district, SD244 school board or something that went to all of us, but I could be wrong.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
it would be good to go through you anyway.
Is there a general one that goes to everybody for information, or it has to come from you?
It probably
It is
should.
best to come from the clerk.
Okay, okay.
Yes, because then you will not have it. And the reason I say that is if she emailed each and every board member, and then you did a reply all, and you actually, by replying all, you're hitting each and every board member,
Yeah,
and
then-
now you've just
then it- yeah, it's
broke
on me.
open
Yeah.
meeting law.
Yeah, there's a couple of the school board that has
So it's just best to email the clerk.
Tracy.
Is John okay?
All right.
It's a long walk.
Oh,
No more comments?
he went to the bathroom.
We're good?
All right, so you need, we need to go into executive session.
Well, we can do that.
You want to?
They
Can I have it-
They
can I
can
have
fix
input?
it next
My
month too.
recommendation-
Do we wait till
My
next?
recommendation there is these policies don't come into effect for the two different districts till January 1.
Yeah.
July 1. So I think Chair Minot can ask to put it on the agenda to make those three. I think
Yeah.
they very much may want to make these same edits that trustee, Vice Chair Dunn did. And so you can put it on the October agenda to make those edits.
Well, in light of that,
Do you want to take a 5-minute break before you go into executive to clear the room?
yeah, let's do that. That'd be great.
So they need to make
A motion
Make a
to,
motion, please.
to
I move that we
adjourn.
adjourn
We have a
and
second?
move into executive session in
Well,
5 minutes.
To make a motion to recess for 5
To recess
minutes.
for 5 minutes.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm the marionette.
Good, I'm gonna go.
Thank you, everybody.